Kang Jinhyuk was a hunter, but not the kind who made headlines or cashed in on fame. As a lowly D rank, the most he could count on were odd jobs and scraps left behind by the big guilds. He'd long since learned the harsh truth of this world. Power decided everything, and without it, even hunters could be trampled. That's why, when a strange sound echoed from his apartment and he went to check, he froze at the sight before him, a shimmering portal, pulsing with light, leading to another world crawling with monsters. They couldn't see him, but he could step through without harm. For a man with nothing left to lose, it wasn't just strange and scary. It was a chance to level up solo in his own exclusive dungeon. Every monster and every treasure here was his to claim, and with no one else to steal the rewards, Kang Jinhyuk finally had a way to rise to the top. With nothing left to lose, he takes a deep breath and steps through the portal, popping out on the first floor of a dungeon maze. He barely has time to look around before a goblin rushes at him from his left. He narrowly evades a stick to his face and dodges back into his attic. The goblin looks around confused and swings at the air. It seems like they really can't see the portal after all, and that means they can't come over to his side either. Now that he knows that, there's no reason to be scared. He equips a baseball bat and jumps back in through the portal to take the goblin head on. He swings the bat into the goblin's cheek, sending the creature flying, before following up with a stab to its chest. With the goblin defeated, he raises his bat and swings it down on its face, defeating it instantly. This was the first time he had ever hunted monsters alone, and since he didn't have to share experience points with anyone else, they were all his for the taking. With the goblin taken out, his level, which hadn't risen in 3 years, went up immediately. The goblin corpse was also his for the taking, and it could get him up to 3 million won if he sold it in the right places. The next day, he takes it to a hunter's market and tries to sell it off to a merchant. The man can tell that he doesn't have a lot of experience in dungeons because the way he handled the goblin significantly reduced the market value. Despite that, he still managed to get a price of over 3 million won, just like he hoped for. All he needed to do was provide the name of the area where he hunted down the goblin, and he would get the payment immediately. That was something Jinhyuk could not tell anyone. If someone found out about the dungeon in his attic, his profits could go down the drain. While he's trying to figure out a way to get out of the situation he'd found himself in, a group of hunters from the Black Dragon Guild come barging into the area like a pack of hyenas. Someone stole a kill from their territory, and they are not happy about it. At first they think it's Jinhyuk and step up to confront him, but the merchant redirects their attention to a blonde-haired hunter who's oblivious to the situation. The hunters step up to confront him and beat him up till he can barely move. He snuck into their territory and tried to hunt monsters there without permission. For all they know, he could be the serial killer they've been looking for. With the man barely able to talk, they drag him out of the building to continue their interrogation. That man who was beaten to a pulp could have easily been Jinhyuk. Seeing a scene like that and knowing that he won't be able to lie about where he got the goblin from, he changes his mind about selling there. He needs to find another way to sell his loot without having to deal with the thugs from bigger guilds if he didn't want his life to be at stake. As soon as Jinhyuk gets back home, he decides to dive back into the dungeon and work on getting stronger. Before he heads in, he has to arm himself with enough equipment to be able to survive a trip into such a dangerous place. He arms himself with a teleportation stone that will allow him to teleport out of danger and back to his apartment, as well as a monster tracking compass that reveals any monsters around him within a 50-meter radius. Armed with that, along with his trusty baseball bat, he steps into the dungeon for a round of leveling up. He goes on a killing spree, with each taking him up by 1 level. True to its name, the Goblin Labyrinth is filled with goblins. For someone with a low level like him, this was the perfect hunting ground to use and grow stronger. After a long day of hunting, his inventory capacity is almost filled to the brim. He has just enough space for 1 more goblin, and since it's the last one, he'd prefer if it was a large one that'd bring in more money. The compass shows a goblin approaching his location, which is perfect timing. All he has to do is hide and ambush it before it sees him. He hides around the corner and waits until just the right moment before swinging his bat right at the goblin's face. Except it isn't a goblin. He just hit a remarkable short man. The man shouts at him in a strange language that he can't understand. Jinhyuk hurriedly bows to apologize, which seems to calm the man down enough. He pulls out 2 necklaces from a bag and hands one to Jinhyuk. As soon as he puts it on, he can suddenly understand what the man is saying, and he realizes 2 things. First, this man is very angry at him, which is fair considering that he just smashed a bat into his face. And secondly, this man isn't a man. He's a dwarf, a mythical race that he's only heard about in fantasy novels. The angry dwarf continues to yell at him while he helps to pick up the items that got scattered around. Everything he picked up seemed to be really high quality, but he barely got any time to admire them while being yelled at. The dwarf notices his bat and picks it up. He demands to know where Jinhyuk got it from, which confuses the young man. There's nothing special about it, but the dwarf seems very determined to know. It's just an ordinary aluminum baseball bat, but the dwarf seems to think it's made up of some kind of highly precious metal named orichalcum. This ordinary bat is so valuable to the dwarf that he believes no amount of money would be able to buy it. He offers Jinhyuk a trade of some of his rare items in exchange for the bat, and seeing no reason to refuse, he follows the dwarf back to his workshop. The dwarf takes the bat deeper into his workshop while Jinhyuk looks around the place. He glances at the weapons laid around the workshop and wonders which one he should pick, but the dwarf returns soon after with his new and improved baseball bat. For some reason, it's shining a bright red color and glowing slightly. Jinhyuk wonders if this is really his bat after all, but the dwarf confirms that that's just one of the traits of orichalcum. It starts out as a soft and weak metal, but then it turns into a strong and durable material the more you enchant it. That word catches his eye. It seems that somehow the dwarf had enchanted his weapon. An enchanted item is a very rare item that only drops from very rare high-level monsters of A grade and above. Just testing out a few swings with the new bat confirms that it feels completely different than he remembers. It's almost impossible to believe that something as strong as this could be artificially created. This dwarf, as well as this whole dungeon, really could be the lucky break that he's been searching for this entire time. He checks the stats in a status menu. The bat is now a legendary baseball bat with S-grade durability and automatic retrieval. His once common aluminum bat has become a rare and legendary item. If he could sell the item, he would make a jackpot, but the bat is already bound to him, so he can't sell it anymore. The dwarf added the automatic retrieval enchantment to the bat, meaning that no one other than him will ever be able to use it. In the end, he can't make any money from it, but it's still a legendary item nonetheless. And even then, there are still other ways to make money. He has an inventory full of goblin corpses that he can sell for a profit. The only problem is there's nowhere to sell them without getting unwanted attention from guilds. The only other option is the hunter industry's black market. They don't ask questions and they deal with corpses efficiently. On top of that, it's really easy to get in touch with them. They always hand out business cards to lower-level hunters who need money, which means he already has a lot of these cards to use. He heads home and uses a card to find the address of one of these black markets. The business card looks incredibly shady, but right now, he doesn't have any other choice. While he's searching around for any sign that this place exists, a man calls down to him from above. His name is Deputy Cho Hyung-il, and he invites Jinhyuk to his office to meet their boss. He meets with Lee Jun-chul, who's a loan shark, currently disguised as a loan agent, who also trades monster corpses on the black market. They ask to inspect the corpses first before discussing payment, and Jinhyuk brings them out to show. The two are shocked by the number of corpses Jinhyuk brings out from his inventory. Despite the fact that Jinhyuk is clearly just a newbie, he managed to get up to 20 goblin corpses. They are all in incredible condition too. The heads are bashed up from baseball bat injuries, but other than that, they look perfect. So perfect, in fact, that Deputy Cho can't hide how excited he is to receive them. The three men negotiate prices, but are interrupted by black market merchants running in to announce that a monster had shown up in the area. There's a rare chance that a monster's corpse can attract monsters, and it seems laying out 20 fresh goblin corpses on the ground was more than enough to send out a beacon to monsters. What's worse, the monsters that had appeared were 2 orcs, which were way out of Jinhyuk's league at the moment. At this rate, the only thing he can do to save himself would be to take the monster corpses and escape as fast as he can. However, it was already too late. The first monster had made it to them and looked ready to tear them apart. Since Jinhyuk was the only hunter around, he was the only person strong enough to take them on. That doesn't mean he could take them on though, and the orc charges at him with its battle axe. He dodges the first swing, but the second swing comes down straight for his head. At such a close distance, there was no way for him to avoid it. It seemed like this was the end for him, and he was about to die pathetically. That's until his newly enchanted bat summons itself from his inventory and blocks the attack just before it can connect. The parry was so strong, it sent the orc flying back for a second. This seems to be another one of its enchantments, the presence detection effect. If that was the case with this new bat of his, then he just might stand a chance. The orc charges in again, but Jinhyuk is more confident and ready this time. He grips the bat and aims downward, right at the orc's knee, causing it to lose balance. Then with the monster disoriented, he launches another attack at its face, cracking its neck and killing it instantly. Just killing a single orc caused his level to jump from 24 to 36 in one quick spike. He doesn't have any time to celebrate as the second orc finds them and rushes at him. This time though, he's ready. He dodges the attack, then runs up behind it and smashes his bat into the orc's back, before repositioning and sending one last attack straight to its head, also killing it instantly. With that, he managed to easily kill 2 orcs in a matter of seconds. That shows just how powerful this enchanted weapon really is. Now that the commotion is over, he smugly asks the men to restart negotiations and add the corpses of the 2 dead orcs to their deal. That day, he went home with a chip on his shoulder. Somehow, he had managed to convince the men to give him 15% more than the market price. The amount of money in his bank account almost felt like a dream. Now that he had finally taken care of those goblin corpses, all he had to do was focus on hunting. Because he saved the black market dealer and his crew, they decided to continue doing business with him, which means that he'll never have to worry about where to sell the corpses again. That's because he probably realized that Jinhyuk isn't just a low-level thief who's selling stolen corpses. He's actually a high-level hunter that's strong enough to take down 2 orcs with little effort. But even with his enchanted bat and his newfound strength, there was no way his current equipment would let him hunt down higher-grade monsters. There was only one option left for him to upgrade, and if he plays his cards right, he might even get some equipment for free. The next day, he had bought a crate full of beer cans and alcohol for the dwarf. Since he liked aluminum so much, then this was like a gold mine to him. The dwarf can't believe that everything in the crate was filled with orichalcum. He tried the beer, but spat it out immediately. The taste was horrible. To calm him down from another shouting match, Jinhyuk passed him some soju instead. This one is different, and the taste is enough to satisfy the dwarf for now, but it's not enough. There could be something more to give it the kick he's looking for. Since the opportunity had come up, the dwarf made a request to Jinhyuk. He needs to have something mined out for him. He sends Jinhyuk on a quest to mine out some mithril ore. But what does ore have to do with alcohol? Well, Jinhyuk wanted some free gear, so it's not like he had any choice of what he had to do to get it. If this was the best way to get the gear, then so be it. He journeyed further into the labyrinth and emerged at a clearing in a forest. This place is much larger than he thought. A system menu pops up in front of him, telling him that he had made it to the 2nd level of the labyrinth. Now he had the opportunity to record his location as a warp point. He had no idea what a warp point was, but he accepted the option regardless. That causes a gate to open up in front of him. This portal allows him to travel between the 1st and 2nd floors easily, just like a video game. With that set up, he journeyed deeper into the labyrinth to find the mithril ore he's been sent to get. The 2nd floor was called Dogs and Skeletons, and just like the 1st floor with goblins, this floor was filled with wild monster dogs jumping out at him. These dogs were way weaker than the orcs he fought just a few days ago, meaning that they were all free experience points for him. He readies his bat and charges headfirst into a pack of dogs aiming for him. By the end of the fight, he had killed 25 orcs and gathered their corpses. Going by the market value, these corpses should net him a nice 200 million won. But he can't let the excitement of all the money get to his head. He still had a mission to mine some mithril ore. He journeys deeper into a dungeon and gets confronted by skeletons. This floor was called Dogs and Skeletons after all, and skeletons are an annoying set of monsters. Their bodies can't be sold for money, and the only way to defeat them is to break their core. That makes this fight all the more painful to sit through, especially since there are a lot of them coming at him. But with his current skills and level, there was no way he wouldn't be able to take them out. By the end of the fight, he's tired and realizes that the dwarf probably sent him here because he didn't want to have to deal with these annoying monsters himself. Still, there's one good thing to come out of this. Killing these skeletons had raised his level to 100, which means that he'll now be able to change classes. His class will be automatically chosen based on his previous actions. With how much fighting he had been doing recently, he would definitely become some sort of berserker or a warrior. Instead, the system deems him to be a cleric. He carries on and manages to gather the mithril ore that the dwarf wanted. That's surprising since the dwarf didn't expect Jinhyuk to make it out of that experience alive. He may be alive, but he's exhausted from all the fighting he had to go through. Well, even with that, it's not like he came out from the encounter completely empty-handed. He managed to swipe some mithril ore for himself since it looked expensive, then he gave the rest to the dwarf. Since he managed to get the ore, the dwarf agrees to use some of it to make anything he wants. Since he already has a great weapon, the next thing he needed was some kind of armor to withstand heavy attacks from monsters, preferably something lightweight that should be easy to hide. The dwarf agrees and gets to work immediately. The process takes much longer than Jinhyuk can wait for, so he goes back home to take a nap for a few hours. He wakes up, half a dozen hours later, and goes back to the workshop to check on the dwarf's progress. By then, he's done making the armor, and he seems satisfied with it. It's mithril chainmail armor that should easily fit under his shirt and hoodie. He tries it on, and without warning, the dwarf attacks him with a hammer to his chest. There's no better way to explain something than with an explanation after all. That attack would normally have broken his ribs at least, but thanks to the armor, he barely felt anything. With armor as strong as this, as well as his legendary baseball bat, his combat abilities had skyrocketed. Meeting this dwarf was definitely the stroke of luck he needed to turn his life around. That's not all he had prepared, however. Next, the dwarf brings a large barrel to give him. It's the soju he had brought earlier. Jinhyuk goes back to his apartment and tries it out for himself. The dwarf was right. Just storing the soju in a barrel made out of mithril ore turned the soju into an entirely different drink. Something this amazing gave him a great idea. He calls the black market dealer again and promises him another deal. This time, he's selling kobold corpses and fine-quality liquor. At another part of town, the Titan Guild have just concluded their training by some newly opened gates. They should be done, but a sudden new wave of lizard men flood through the gates. It seems like it's an anomaly gate, and 3 times more enemies pour out than they have just defeated. One of the guild members suggests calling for help from another guild, but in Doyun, the deputy guild master can't let his pride go by calling others for help. He urges his subordinates to hold their ground and fight. Jinhyuk, on the other hand, is not having nearly as hard of a time. He just officially got his class registered as a cleric, and on top of that, he was promoted from D rank to C rank. Clerics are a rare class of healers, and it's well known that top guilds usually seek them out. That means he might now be able to be recruited by a guild. Suddenly, a bloodied and beaten-up hunter barges through the doors looking for a cleric. Jinhyuk raises his hand and volunteers as a cleric, and the man takes him back to the site where the Titan Guild members are taking in the hordes of lizard men. He's told to stand in the back line and heal as many people as he can with the other clerics. He wants to help in other ways, but the guild member assures him that all he has to do is stand in the back and heal them, then he'll get paid accordingly when the fighting is done. The healers being in the area is enough to support the guild members and give them a second wind to keep fighting on. But the waves are just too much for them to handle, and one of the other clerics suggests calling in a supporting guild to help take them out faster. At this rate, they'll all be wiped out if they don't do something. Just as he's thinking on what to do next, he feels a hostile presence behind him. His bat had just saved him from a fatal strike by one of the lizardmen. It somehow got past all the hunters and was trying to take out the healers starting with him. That means that the back ranks of their defense had been breached. There's only clerics at the back line. If these monsters got through them, they'd wipe out the guild members in an instant. Left with no other choice, Jinhyuk grips his bat and swings at the lizardman that attacked him, sending him flying with a single attack. He informs the other clerics that there's been a breach and he's the only one that'd be able to block them. They got this far behind them thanks to a concealment technique, and now they were trying to ambush them from behind. Jinhyuk instructs the clerics to focus on healing for now and to leave the lizardmen to him. It would be difficult, but he was the only one that could stop them. The other clerics are worried about him since they think he's just an ordinary healer like them. Jinhyuk, on the other hand, rushes in to take them head on, telling them not to worry about him. He wouldn't be saying these kinds of things if he wasn't at least a bit confident in his abilities. Of course, even though he said all that, he was still nervous about the whole thing. But in the end, he actually managed to hold his ground against the rampaging monsters. One of them manages to get past him while his guard is down and heads straight for one of the other clerics. Jinhyuk chases after it, then leaps off the ground and manages to stop it from attacking one of the clerics just in time. His rushed attack leaves him open to a stab from behind, but thanks to the dwarf's chain armor, it barely affects him. The monster is surprised that their attack didn't work, and Jinhyuk takes that opportunity to counter with a bat swing to his face. Somehow he's actually holding them off by himself. Thanks to him, they can focus on healing without worrying about any sneak attacks. But that's not the only thing going in their favor. The lizardmen freeze as a new fighter enters the battle. Suddenly, a strong man joins in and takes out one of the monsters with a single hit. This newcomer is Sangho, the guildmaster of the Titan Guild. He acknowledges Jinhyuk and asks if he was the one that took out all the monsters in the area. The C-rank hunter admits that he was the one who took out the monsters, but he's more confused about who this new powerful man was. The clerics are surprised that he doesn't know the S-rank hunter Sangho. He's so powerful that thanks to him being there, it looked like the battle was about to come to an end. With no time to waste, he rushes off to join his subordinates in battle, but not before promising to properly reward Jinhyuk for his assistance later. Just at a glance, it's obvious to anyone including Jinhyuk that S-rank hunters were in an entire league of their own. When he's around, he becomes the real monster in the battle. He lands right in the middle of the fight and his presence immediately lightens everyone's spirits. All except Doyun, who seems annoyed that the guildmaster showed up. There was nothing wrong with a fellow guild member coming in to give support, but Doyun's pride wouldn't let him accept that. Sangho immediately takes charge of the situation. He passes orders across to the fighting hunters and immediately commands the attention of everyone around him. With that done, he doesn't wait for the guild members to clear the area and launches a powerful attack on the ground, which creates a shockwave that sends all the lizard men flying. His one single strike was enough to take out a lot of them in a single stroke. In a matter of minutes, with Sangho's help, all the monsters are easily taken out. Now that he was sure that his guild members were safe, he takes Doyun by the jacket to reprimand him. What was he thinking when he decided to put his life and the lives of his subordinates at risk by taking on the monsters alone? He claims that he just wanted to protect the guild's reputation, but Sangho knows the truth is that Doyun just wanted to protect his own pride. The two have a short stare-off until one of the guild members reminds him that he needs to dismiss the clerics that helped to clear the scene. The guildmaster calms himself down and goes over to address the hunters and thank them personally. Especially Jinhyuk, who is the main reason so many people made it out alive today. As a token of gratitude, he offers to allow him to enter the guild immediately without having to go through a registration process. That's something that Doyun cannot accept. He quickly comes in to put down Jinhyuk as a mere D rank that only got lucky. Sangho, on the other hand, does not hesitate to remind him that this mere former D rank saved so many lives that would have been lost if it wasn't for his stubbornness. Then he forces Doyun to apologize to Jinhyuk, which is already a big blow to the deputy guildmaster's pride. Even with that, Jinhyuk respectfully declines the offer. He doesn't want to be part of any guild that allows people like Doyun to have any type of authority. That's the last straw. Doyun rushes at him with an enhanced punch, but a defensive bat straight to his stomach is enough to stop him in his tracks. The hit is enough to knock Doyun out cold immediately. The occasion is such a noticeable moment that it appears in a news article by the next day. The higher-ups of the Titan Guild can't stand what happened to Doyun. Not only was he publicly embarrassed by a mere C rank, he was also demoted from his authority as a deputy guildmaster. They demand that the C rank appears before them to explain himself. Sangho, on the other hand, doesn't agree with that. Not only did Doyun risk the lives of multiple guild members for the sake of his pride, he also attempted to attack someone who fought for their guild. That's more than enough reason for him to be demoted. That manages to shut down the people gathered. With nothing else to say to the men, he sends them on their way. The guildmaster's mind wanders back to the extraordinary C rank that he saw the other day. Before he grows any stronger, he has to get Kang Jinhyuk to join his guild no matter what. The man in question lounges lazily in his apartment enjoying a drink while looking through his expenses. Since he made a lot of money from hunting, he had spent more than he usually would, which put the expenses at an absurd high. If he knew things were going to turn out this way, then he would have accepted the extra pay that the Titan Guild was offering him. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter since he has a much better way to earn money. After some much-needed relaxation, he heads back into the dungeon to collect more monster corpses. Hunting the same old monsters isn't enough for him anymore. Now that he had gotten stronger, he was going to need some stronger opponents. He walked deeper into the second floor than he usually would, and found himself facing off against a small army of orcs. One of them tries to attack him from behind, but he successfully sidesteps the attack before retaliating with an attack of his own. The hit defeats the orc immediately right as several others swarm around him through the hall. Just a few days ago, he would have been dead on the spot, but thanks to his new equipment, he's able to defeat all of them with ease. By the end, he counts up a total of 20 orc corpses, which should net him enough money to not have to worry about anything for a whole year. Since he still had a lot of stamina left, he decides to head a little deeper into the dungeon and finds himself entering the third floor named as the Temple Guardian's Labyrinth. At first glance, there don't seem to be any monsters in the area, but the sense of calm is almost immediately broken by a large tremor shaking the ground. A giant hand bursts out from beneath him, and Jinhyuk only barely manages to move out of the way. The hand belongs to a stone golem, which is an artificial monster built from mana. Its attacks are too fast for him to dodge, and they are so powerful that even when he blocks it, he still gets pushed back by a large amount. That leaves him with very little option but to try his best and fight back. The golem seems to be incredibly strong, but it lacks the intelligence to make use of that strength. Jinhyuk takes advantage of this and manages to land an attack on its head, shattering it to pieces and causing the creature to fall, but it doesn't take much time for it to start reforming once again. Jinhyuk forgot a crucial point of the golems. It can only be defeated by completely breaking its core. Realizing this, he tries to dodge back and create some distance to re-strategize, but the monster manages to regenerate hand fast enough to catch him before he can escape. There weren't many ways he could escape this trap, but then suddenly an arrow flies in and strikes the golem in its chest. Jinhyuk sees the opportunity and follows up with a sharp jab from his bat, breaking the golem's core and defeating it once and for all. He managed to make it out of that situation alive thanks to the random stranger that saved him with that arrow shot. He turns around to thank his savior, but he's shocked when instead of seeing the dwarf which he expected, he sees a beautiful-looking woman with some strange-looking ears. Those ears mean she's actually an elf. He bows his head and thanks her for saving him, but doesn't notice the elf rushing at him while his head is down. He only gets a second to see her before she grabs him by the collar and pulls him close for an interrogation. She hasn't seen him in this dungeon before. She's curious about who he is and where he came from. The elf clearly isn't from Jinhyuk's world. She doesn't know where he's from, and his outfit looks unfamiliar to her. She asks him a barrage of questions while he struggles to free himself from her grip. She eventually lets him go after he mentions that he entered the dungeon today. That means that he knows where the dungeon entrance is. She pushes him on the ground and drops her bow. She has finally found a way out of this dungeon. Jinhyuk stands up and demands to know what's going on with her being needlessly aggressive. The elf ignores him and instead demands that he takes her to the exit. He's not impressed by her just giving him orders out of nowhere. She's really pretty though, so he'll let it slide for now. She mentions that if he successfully guides her out of the dungeon, then she will adequately compensate him. After all, she's a platinum-ranked mercenary, so he can trust her. Her name is Lucia, and she's a half-elf that prides herself on being pretty famous. Surely he had heard of her from somewhere. Jinhyuk, though, has no idea what she's talking about or who she is. She repeats that she's a platinum-ranked mercenary and shows him her badge, but he still has never seen or heard of any of these things before. Did he come from some kind of rural area? How does he not know what the badge is or who she is? He tells her that he's from Seoul in Korea. It's her turn to be confused by the names he's calling, and she realizes that the crazy mage might have actually succeeded in his dimension-hopping spell. She tells him of her suspicions. In simple words, a mage from her dimension cast a spell on this dungeon that caused it to hop over into his. Something like that doesn't sound possible at all, but it appears that this is exactly what happened. However, since it was a dimensional shift, that means that reversing the magic will allow her to return to her world. Jin-hyuk had felt that something was odd, but it turns out that this dungeon isn't even from this world. If this place returns to its original location, that could be a big problem for him. He asks her if she plans to send the dungeon back right now, but she can't. It would be too difficult to reverse the magic here, but there's a potential location that would be helpful. It's a hidden room on this floor that she found a long while ago while searching for an exit. She asks for his help getting there and promises to reward him for his help in getting there. The conditions don't seem too bad, so he agrees to help her reach the hidden room. They head there and fight a few orcs on the way. Jin-hyuk notices that she's a lot stronger than he thought she'd be. That arrow she fired earlier was also no joke. Fighting her here would be a disadvantage for him. His safest bet would be to cooperate with her and continue to assess the situation. After a little more walking, they decide to rest at a safe spot. Jin-hyuk had packed some chocolates in his pockets for emergencies, and he hands her one to eat. She takes a liking to it immediately and demands for more, and after eating through his whole supply, she asks for even more. That was unfortunately the last one, and she accepts and seems satisfied enough to continue the journey. Eventually, they reach a large room that holds the boss of the dungeon. Lucia believes that there's a chance for the mage's spell to be in that room. To investigate, they'll need to take down the boss and free up the room. She tells him that he doesn't have to do much of anything. All he has to do is help her finish it off once she takes it down. They open the door, and the monster immediately lets out an angry roar before attacking. Lucia charges up an arrow and aims straight at the boss's chest. She tells Jin-hyuk to watch her closely. Then she uses a technique called aura to increase the impact of her attack. She fires the arrow and it hits the boss head-on, knocking it onto its back immediately. Just one of her attacks was enough to bring it down, despite how huge the armored monster was. This is the technique she's going to teach him, but first, he has to finish up the monster before it gets up again. Just like with the golems, he has to aim for the core to take it out. He jumps onto the fallen creature's chest and bashes his bat right into where he believes the core should be. One hit doesn't seem to be enough to bring it down though, and a large fist rushes at him from the side. He narrowly blocks it with one of his cleric skills, the Holy Shield. Then he uses his momentum to push himself back onto its chest. If one hit isn't enough to bring it down, then he'll just keep bashing it until it stops moving. Eventually, he busts the core open and the creature is finally defeated. He levels up again, almost reaching 200 at this point. Now that the creature is defeated, he returns to Lucia and asks her to teach him how to use aura, but he already used aura. His Holy Shield skill transformed his Holy Cleric power into aura. To him it was just a class skill, but she doesn't know what that is. Besides that, if he can use skills like that, then it seems he will be able to learn how to use aura faster than she thought. Since he has the potential to wield it well, that means that he might even be able to start enhancing his attacks with aura right away. But first, there's a condition. She sends him back to get more chocolates for her. Back in the city, Sangho walks alongside his secretary Lee Hyena and discusses a new anomaly that appeared near Gangnam Station. It was detected yesterday, meaning that they have about 5 days to prepare before a powerful monster appears there. No matter how Sangho pictures it, there's no way his guild is going to be able to take it on by themselves. However, all the other major guilds have been dispatched overseas, meaning that the Titan Guild is the only one left in Korea to fight. Hyena will continue searching for capable hunters who are freelancing locally, but none of them seem reliable. Sangho, however, already has his sights set on someone else. In fact, coincidentally, that person just happened to be crossing the other side of the street. He excuses himself from his conversation with his secretary and chases after Jin-hyuk. He's carrying home a large box of snacks that the elf asked him to get when the guildmaster's voice catches his attention. He offers his proposal to join Titan Guild once more, but Jin-hyuk doesn't have any plans of changing his mind. In that case, Sangho offers Jin-hyuk a job as a mercenary. That way he can still work for the guild, but he won't be a part of it. The rewards are also substantial. That sounds more interesting, but Jin-hyuk promises to only think about it. He returns to the dungeon and presents the snacks to the elf. She happily eats them all, and it's obvious that they don't have this kind of food in her world. After her hearty meal, Jin-hyuk asks her why she's eating down in the basement when they have already defeated the boss monster. She points up at a magic circle on the ceiling and tells him that it connects the dungeon to the world he lives in. Because of it, she'll be staying down there for the time being to study it. So if he wants to learn more about aura, he's going to need to bring her more chocolates. Now that she is done eating, she takes his hand to teach him how to use aura. Firstly, she'll have to pour her aura into his body to show him what it feels like. Jin-hyuk immediately feels the power flowing into him. Lucia also notices the spike of power in his body after she poured in her aura. He seems to have more talent for it than she originally expected. The movement of holy power following through his body is impressive enough that she believes he will be able to grasp the basics by the end of the day. She commends him for his talent and asks him if he can remember the flow of aura in his body. He's confident that he can, and she acknowledges him before turning to leave the dungeon. She was supposed to investigate the magic circle first, but it seems like it would be faster to fully train him on how to use aura, and the best way to do that is through practical experience. She takes him to a different part of the dungeon and throws him into a horde of monsters. He fights an army of goblins and kobolds at once, but manages to hold his own against them while collecting their corpses as well. He turns to Lucia and asks her why he suddenly has to fight a horde of monsters when she told him that he would be learning how to use aura. She tells him that this is how he will learn how to use aura. Even though she infused a bit of mana into his body so he can get a feel of it, he's going to have to sense the rest on his own. And to do that, all he has to do is get the hang of activating aura using his holy power. And there's no better way to get the instinct for it than in the middle of real combat. He's more upset that she didn't tell him any of that, and instead just threw him into the action with no warning. While they're fighting, the ground starts to shake, and a stone golem emerges from the ground. It lets out a loud roar and pushes Jinhyuk away as Lucia continues to explain that he needs to face a true crisis to be able to unlock his potential. All he has to do is focus and try to feel the holy power coming from the shield he generates with his skill. The shield is made out of aura, so once he gets the hang of it, he'll be able to pick it up quickly. That's easier said than done since he doesn't consciously activate the holy shield. How is he supposed to feel any aura from something that turns on automatically? The monster brings down a huge fist towards Jinhyuk, and he blocks it with the holy shield once again, but this time, he feels something. It's some kind of energy gathering around his left hand, which was the hand that's activating the skill. This must be what holy power feels like. The monster pills back and attacks again, and Jinhyuk summons his holy shield again. Except this time, it has a different shape than what he remembers. The sensation of summoning the shield is also different. This must be mana. The golem doesn't give him time to figure all this out and smashes down on the shield, sending Jinhyuk flying back. Lucia mocks him from her podium. She told him to get the hang of his skill, not to make foolish mistakes. He was just doing what she told him to, though. As he prepares for another attack, a status window appears in front of him. He has acquired a new skill called Holy Power Application. This skill allows him to use holy power, and to use the energy to enhance his attack and defense based on how much holy power is used. This means that there are ways to gain skills beyond getting a job change. Lucia notices him spacing out and decides to take matters into her own hands. It seems that facing a golem while learning aura was too much for him, so she offers to take care of it from there. Jinhyuk, on the other hand, quickly recovers himself and tells her to stand down. Now that he has a grasp over his new powers, he should be able to take care of everything. He charges at the golem, then leaps off the ground, narrowly dodging another stone fist aiming right at him. Then while in the air, he focuses his mana into the bat, then uses a front flip to gain more momentum before bringing the mana-enhanced bat down onto the golem's head. The monster falls, but he's not satisfied yet. He lands on its chest and focuses one more, trying to divert even more mana into his bat before bringing it down right onto the golem's chest, unlocking a new skill at the same time called Holy Aura. With his enhanced weapon, he stabs the golem with his bat and successfully breaks the core. By unlocking his Holy Aura, it also allowed him to gain new skills like Precision Strike and Unyielding. Thanks to Lucia's training, he was able to unlock 2 passive skills and an active skill. She, however, is more concerned about the fact that he learned how to use aura in battle so quickly. She was expecting to just teach him the basics and call it a day, but with this, she has to see things to the end. She takes one of her arrows and brings down a wall, opening up the area to an even larger horde of monsters. Jinhyuk is not impressed, but he readies his bat and prepares for another battle. The battle with the monsters in the dungeon took a lot out of him, and by the time he goes to sell the monster corpses, he's exhausted. He's so tired that the black market boss Junchul notices when they meet. He looks like he has just been through a war. Junchul decides not to ask too many questions and gets down to business by accepting the monster corpses. He also brings up the topic of the alcohol he sold to them last time. He marketed them as traditional artisan soju, and since it went on the market, orders have been flooding in. With how popular the drink became in such a short time, he could focus on selling liquor and never have to worry about money again. With enough money to last him for the rest of his life and a small business set up already, Jinhyuk heads home to rest. His training with Lucia has left him immensely tired, and only seconds after laying down in bed, he passes out immediately. Not long after, he's woken up by the sound of a disaster alert. A loud automated voice urges everyone on the street to evacuate and get to safety. Today is already the day of the monster invasion. It seems to have come early this month. Monster invasions usually happen randomly, but there is a certain invasion that happens after a set period of 1 month. This invasion is pretty common, and usually Jinhyuk would use this opportunity to catch some low-level monsters for some loose change. This time, though, he's too tired to care. The large guilds will take care of them anyways, so he shouldn't have to move a finger. At least that was the plan until a notification came in on his phone informing him that due to the urgency of the invasion, the rewards for monsters would be tripled. With triple the rewards up for grabs, Jin-hyuk can't ignore the invasion anymore. He steps out onto the street to see what if he can take some down and cash in. Meanwhile, security officials guide people and try to clear the streets while the Titan Guild battles hordes of monsters running through the city. The security line is already breaking due to the number of monsters trying to get through, and Sangho is running out of stamina to keep up the fight. No matter how many he takes down, more just keep popping up. The guild members are already at their limits, and even though it looks like they have the upper hand, things aren't looking too promising. The guild secretary watches the fight worriedly from behind safety. Even though it looks like everything is going well thanks to the guild master, she can tell that they're getting stretched thin. If only they had one more powerful hunter to turn the tide. Her mind wanders to a man that the guild master had found promising not too long ago. She takes her phone and calls Jin-hyuk. He's in the middle of fighting some goblins when he picks up. She offers him a chance to fight with the Titan Guild, and in return, he will get heavily compensated. He asks for 5 times the normal compensation, and she suggests that they meet at a predetermined place to discuss more. When they meet, she offers him 4 times the compensation instead, and he reluctantly agrees. With that, she gives him a device that'll keep track of how many monsters he kills, so that they can keep track of how much he did for the guild. If he makes a more than average contribution to the fight, then he will get everything he's asking for. Now that he's gotten a chance to show off his abilities and get proper payment for it, he takes off towards the fight to provide help. Hyena watches him leave reluctantly and wonders if he will live up to the expectations that Sangho has of him. He was once able to take down Doyun by pure luck, but his skills are still uncertain. He arrives on the battlefield and immediately goes after a rampaging ogre which shocks the entire crowd. He manages to kill it in one quick strike, which makes everyone else think that he has to be at least an A-rank hunter. A rank is close, but Jin-hyuk believes that with his current abilities, he has to be stronger than an A rank. He takes a moment to drink a mana potion and recharge. Thanks to Lucia's intense training, he has managed to reach level 200. Normally he wouldn't be able to face an ogre, but as long as his mana doesn't run out, he should be able to keep up with an S-rank hunter. And right now he has over 1500 mana potions, which means that all the monsters around him right now were nothing but money makers. Elsewhere, Doyun takes down monsters alongside his guild members. He notices that the monsters are dramatically decreasing and turns to see a group watching someone take down monsters with ease. He checks on them himself and sees the one person he hates the most right now. He yells orders to the stunned hunters and tells them to stop daydreaming and go back to fighting monsters. Why was this guy here and who invited him? Just seeing Jin-hyuk reminds him of their last encounter and how his embarrassing moment was broadcast all over the news. That last time must have been due to lots of luck. This time, since he's alone, there'd be no problem taking him out and putting him in his place. With that in mind, he rushes towards Jin-hyuk in hopes of fixing his nasty habit of being at the worst place at the wrong time. Unluckily for him, the C-rank hunter notices him far too early and manages to counter his attack, sending Doyun flying and knocking him out yet again. He's too busy to entertain this random crazy guy. Meanwhile, Sangho stares down a rampaging minotaur. His mana is almost gone and he's out of stamina. The minotaur raises its club to attack right as Sangho entertains the idea of retreating and regaining his stamina. But before it can hit him, a voice calls out behind him, and Jin-hyuk jumps in from above, grabbing the minotaur by the horn and slamming it into the ground. For a C-rank hunter to take down a minotaur in one hit, it looks like his judgment about Jin-hyuk was right on track. As he takes down the monster, Sangho approaches him to show his appreciation for the help. Jin-hyuk tells him that the guildmaster secretary called him and promised a hefty pay in return for his help, so there was no need to thank him. Sangho then takes this chance to once again ask him to join their guild. If he joins forces with them, then opportunities like these will keep popping up. Jin-hyuk takes a moment to consider it, then tells him that once they finish up the remaining monsters, then he'll think about it. As they're talking, Sangho gets a call from Hyena. She tells him to look at the sky. The clouds had turned back, and the weather had become fiery with lightning. Something huge and menacing was lurking in the clouds, and it did not look friendly. It shoots lightning down at everything, both monsters and hunters, and damages buildings as it flies around. It's so high in the sky that there's no way their skills will be able to reach it. That means that there could be no way to attack it. Sangho suggests going back to his guild to assess the situation and invites Jin-hyuk to join him. He reluctantly agrees, and together they meet back at his office. From there, they run different tests and see that nothing they've done so far has been able to affect it or defend against its attacks. Everything they've done so far to stop it has been nullified or destroyed. They need to find something with a huge amount of firepower that can also destroy things from a long range. Lucia immediately comes to mind, and he realizes that there might be a way to bring it down after all. As Jin-hyuk leaves to get Lucia, the executives of the Titan Guild come together to talk about how much favoritism Sangho is giving to a C-ranker. The other guild members try to think of other ways to bring the monster down without relying on Jinhyuk, but there's just no other choice in the matter. All other methods are guaranteed to fail, so the only option left is to trust in the only hunter with an idea. They could call another guild named Gadia, which is a large guild filled with A ranks and higher mages. Unfortunately, those guys don't care about casualties, and calling them in will surely result in many deaths. The other members in the room fall silent after they realize that they really don't have any other choice but to wait. Back at the apartment, Jinhyuk comes out of the portal with Lucia. He thanks her for agreeing to help and promises her as many sweet treats from his world as she could want as a reward. Together, they head to the top of the Titan Guild headquarters, and Jinhyuk shows her the monster that's terrorizing their city. He asks her if she'll be able to take it down, and she's certain that she can. The thing is so big that she can hit it with her eyes closed. The monster is level 300, which is the highest level monster that has ever been recorded. She assures him that she can take it out, but first, she's going to need a little help. The building's roof is too fragile to handle her power, and she needs him to prepare a shield to absorb most of the impact if he doesn't want to see multiple buildings destroyed. With things properly set up, Jinhyuk calls the guild leader and asks about the potential damage to the area. Once they take down the monster, the damage to buildings will be unavoidable. Sangho tells him not to worry about all that, and to only focus on bringing down the monster. With that settled, Jinhyuk prepares a shield while Lucia charges up 2 arrows to take down the beast. She aims carefully, then releases the shots, which causes a massive shockwave that pushes Jinhyuk back even with the shield. The 2 shots race through the sky towards the monster, and in just a second, they land a direct hit on the beast, taking it out in one shot. The damage is so massive that half its body is disintegrated from the impact. The Titan Guild watches from the ground, amazed that he managed to pull it off so easily. Hunter Kang Jinhyuk just continues to amaze people. The whiplash from Lucia's attack was enough to leave smoking trail marks on the building's helipad. It may not have been the time to hold back, but this was way too much. Lucia, on the other hand, is more disappointed that the monster was so weak. It wasn't like that at all. It's more like Lucia is just way too strong for any monster that pops up in this world. Regardless, the job is done and it's time for her to head back. She passes him the tracker that keeps track of his points, and the reading was a massive 240 points. With that, she turns to leave, but not before leaving him with a warning not to place too much trust on other people. When there's a lot at stake, people's minds tend to cloud with the hope of money. It would be better to not allow himself to be deceived like she has been on her many adventures. Jinhyuk assures her that he'll be fine. If he notices anything wrong, he'll make sure to take care of it. They part ways, and Jinhyuk heads down to the street where he's found by Sangho and his secretary. They catch up with him and ask him how he managed to take such a huge monster down by himself. He politely declines telling them and says that it's a secret. One of the executives with him takes offense at that and doesn't believe that a mere C rank can take down such a huge beast. But Jinhyuk shows them the monster tracker, which has a massive amount of points, showing that he really was the one who brought it down. Sangho stops him there and apologizes to Jinhyuk for the outburst. The executive watches them in anger. It seems that Sangho loves to side with a C rank more than his own guild members. In that case, it is time to find a change, because Sangho keeps standing in the way of the guild's future. He takes out his phone and places a call to an unknown number. By the next day, the rumor had spread all over the city that the giant monster was taken down by an ordinary C rank. The members of the Titan Guild don't believe it, but it's not that hard to verify. Word had even gotten around that the guildmaster personally offered him a direct entry into the Titan Guild, but he turned it down. He must be really confident in his skills to turn down such a huge offer from Sangho himself. The rumors had even managed to reach members of the Altron Guild, who had also received information that Doyun had been hospitalized after the events of the monster invasion. He was known for his impressive skills, but information reveals that he was taken down by the rumored C-rank hunter. If that is true, then the rumors had some truth to them. The Altron Guild scouts decide to meet with Jinhyuk themselves and verify the information. He might have unlocked a hidden class, which was exceptionally rare for hunters to do. If that's the case, they had to recruit him into their guild first before another guild took him, or they would eliminate him. Jinhyuk, on the other hand, slept soundly after the battle. He had used up all of his stamina during the fight and passed out as soon as he got the chance. He woke up after 2 days of dead sleep and realized that this was the backlash from overusing his stamina. He walks out into his living room and finds that Lucia had made a huge mess with all the snacks that he bought her. She had managed to eat everything in just 2 days. She had no choice though, since there was no food left in the fridge, and all he had available to eat were those snacks. She also couldn't go back to the dungeon since he hadn't opened the portal for her. That confuses Jinhyuk since he has never needed to open it before. It's always open as far as he knows. He goes to his attic to show her that the portal was open even right then. That didn't make sense to her since just a moment ago, there was nothing there. She tells him to step away from the door, then reopens it, and sure enough, there's nothing there now that he has stepped back. Jinhyuk has no idea what's going on since he has only ever seen the dungeon open. Lucia has a theory that the dungeon reacts to only him, meaning that wherever he goes, the dungeon follows. It seems like the dungeon is imprinted directly on him, which means that there was a chance the dungeon could have fallen directly on his head. Luckily, it was a failed spell. He decides not to think about that and instead orders some food for the both of them. She wonders how he even found his way back to the house after they defeated the monster. She placed a recognition suppression spell on it, which should have made it impossible to find. Jin-hyuk asks her why she would place something like that on his house. She explains that while he was sleeping, some strange people kept coming by. They were from some guild named Altron and Guardian, and they were so annoying that she made it so they could never come at all. Jin-hyuk is confused as to why those large guilds would be looking for him, so he pulls out his phone to find out just what had happened while he was asleep. The first headline he sees catches his attention immediately. News of him defeating the new giant monster had spread around the internet. There was even a video circulating around that clearly showed him fighting along with the Titan Guild. It seems that he became famous overnight. This is going to be a problem. It seems like he got too greedy, and taking advantage of Lucia's power had put him under a spotlight. The hunter industry is territorial, and whenever they see a strong competitor, they try to take them out as soon as possible. He decides not to dwell on the past. With Lucia done eating, they head back into the dungeon to take their loot to the dwarf. Thanks to Lucia's powerful shot, the body was too weak to use and they were only able to recover the head. The old man is frustrated at the elf for overdoing it and ruining valuable material. It seems like he and Lucia have a natural hatred towards each other. Jin-hyuk cuts in during their argument and asks the dwarf if he can make something out of the corpse. He takes a moment and digs something out of the head. It's the organ that allowed it to produce lightning. With that, he can enchant the baseball bat to produce lightning as well. Jin-hyuk asks him how he'd like to be paid, but all he wants is for the elf to get out of his workshop. Lucia starts shaking with anger, and Jin-hyuk has to calm her down with promises of more sweets. After just barely stopping her from shooting a hole straight through the dwarf's head, he heads back into the city to buy her promised sweets. On his way back home, he senses something in an alleyway. It seems like someone is tracking him. He drops his groceries behind a wall and calls out to the creep following him. A voice answers back, surprised that Jin-hyuk noticed him at all. Suddenly, a figure appears out of nowhere and rushes at him with a swing of a sword. Jin-hyuk just barely manages to block the attack with his bat. The newcomer is surprised that Jin-hyuk could even see him at all. This confirms that the rumors were true. Jin-hyuk really is more than just an ordinary C rank. Jin-hyuk pushes him back, then leaps at him with another attack from his bat. Since he doesn't want to reveal who he is, then he's just going to have to get beat up till he feels like talking. Since the attacker can't fight head-on, he uses a skill to turn himself invisible again, deciding to change tactics. Jin-hyuk can just faintly feel his presence, but he can't see him. The slight sense he has is just enough to tell when he's going to attack, though. He manages to dodge and block most of the attacks that are thrown at him, but at this rate, things won't go well for him for much longer. If he had his usual bat, he could track him more easily, but the old dwarf is working on it, meaning he had to switch to a regular aluminum bat instead. He can't stay here for much longer. With no other means of fighting, Jin-hyuk makes a run for it, but not before the hooded attacker attaches a tracking device to his shirt. Jin-hyuk makes his way to a crowded area to hide, but the attacker's tracking device allows him to continue monitoring wherever he goes. The trail leads to a bathroom in a department store, and he follows it in, camouflaging himself in the meantime. He stops in front of the stall that the tracker led him to and kicks it open, prepared to attack, except there's nothing there but the tracker stuck to the wall. It was a trap. He realized that much too late as Jin-hyuk rushes behind him with his bat-raised tie swing. In this confined space, disappearing won't save him. He just barely evades the attack and counters with a knife swing to Jin-hyuk's face. That is easily dodged, and the hunter grabs the attacker's hand before slamming him into the ground. With nowhere left to run and the wind knocked out of him, Jin-hyuk raises his bat and prepares to swing one last time, and prepares to smash his head in if he doesn't tell Spill who sent him on this chase. Meanwhile, outside, a boy wants to use the toilets. There's a sign forbidding entry, but he just can't hold it anymore. His dad reluctantly lets him run right as the assassin is about to confess. That's all the opportunity that he needs. The assassin charges up a fireball and sends it straight at Jin-hyuk and the child, forcing him to put up a shield and save them both. The assassin uses the smoke as an escape to run while he still can. The higher-ups only told him to get some information from him. He didn't expect things to be this troublesome. As he tries to run, an object stabs right through his chest, killing him instantly. Jin-hyuk stands behind him trying to catch his breath. It seems like he used too much force and accidentally killed him. As he's lamenting the situation, a status window pops up in front of him. It acknowledges the murder but labels it as self-defense. Because of this, the villain trait will not be given, and instead, a hidden job change has become available. After the nasty restroom scuffle with the mysterious criminal, Kang Jin-hyuk found himself posted up outside the crime scene, still reeling from what happened. As far as he knew, when a hunter kills a person, they should receive the infamous title of villain. Furthermore, clerics like him would suffer a penalty wherein their skills are sealed. He really thought it was over for him. Without his cleric job, his combat strength would be significantly diminished. But killing that bastard surprisingly triggered a class change. Two detectives approached the shaken young man to get his statement as to what happened in the restroom. The lead detective, Jo Kyung-yeon, from the Hunter Affairs Division, showed his badge and politely asked for Jin Hyuk's cooperation on the sensitive matter. They identified the magician hunter who attacked the young man. Jin Hyuk gave the detectives the truth. When the magician found himself in danger, he used magic with the intent to kill. He used fire magic with full awareness that a child would get caught in the blast. Jin Hyuk worries that the child might be hurt in any way, but the detectives assured him that the kid only got minor burns, nothing serious. The kid and his father even extended their heartfelt thanks to Jin Hyuk for coming in clutch. He was just relieved that the kid didn't sustain a major injury. The detectives acknowledged that the kid remained unharmed thanks to Jin Hyuk's quick and proper response. Thanks to his valiant efforts to neutralize a criminal, there should not be any issue with the case being legally recognized as self-defense. He could even return home right after the investigation wrap up. To be honest, Jin Hyuk was expecting more trouble, but thankfully, the authorities were reasonable. Detective Jo inferred that the young man's prior actions played a part, and the laws applied to hunters have always been a little different. But there was another reason why they were being light on the young man. It was the fact that he did not receive the villain title even after killing someone. The said title only appears when someone deliberately commits murder. It does not rear its ugly head when the killing is done in self-defense. It's an open secret to hunters at this point. If Jin Hyuk could keep what he heard to himself, there wouldn't be any need to be hassled by a legal trial. If he does choose to reveal any information regarding the incident to others, it would put the whole Hunter Affairs Division in a difficult position. Naturally, Jin Hyuk knew to keep his mouth shut. However, from the division's perspective, trust can only go so far, and it carries some risks. Just to be sure, Detective Jo handed the young man a recorder just for safety measures. From now on, he would be required to keep the device on him at all times. To put it bluntly, the monitoring device would get triggered if it picked up on 3 taboo words. As soon as it hears the words murder, villain, and self-defense, a signal would be sent to the authorities. As long as the young man keeps his mouth shut about the entire matter without speaking those taboo words, there should be no problems. Detective Jo urged Jin Hyuk to go home and rest to wipe the shock from his system while the big boys cleaned up all the mess. Jin Hyuk thanked the detectives and went on his way home with a sullen expression. As soon as he walked away, the detectives gossiped about the young man rumored to be the one who captured the rumored new type of monster. Even an amateur could plainly see that Jin Hyuk was not a C-rank hunter at all. He managed to block a full-powered flamestorm without taking any damage while protecting a child. The high-level magician hunter criminal wasn't someone that anyone could just defeat. At this point, Jin Hyuk's mysterious capabilities are more than just exaggerated rumors. What the division was sure of was that Kang Jin Hyuk must have power far beyond a normal C rank. The detectives could only hope that he stayed clean of unnecessary trouble to cultivate mutual trust. Finally, alone, Jin Hyuk checked on his new class, the Inquisitor. It was a hidden class without any publicly available records available. He was hoping to acquire something like this someday, but he didn't expect to get it so soon. Rather than drooling over the skill descriptions boringly, he would rather test his new class out through actual combat. He let a goblin get close enough to take a swing against him. He was practicing the skill that replaced his healing capabilities and turned it into something called hard skin. With this specialized skin, damage taken from enemy attacks would be greatly reduced. He also got a new status resistance skill, making him less susceptible to poison, sleep, stun, and many more status effects. Pleased by his haul, Jin Hyuk raised his fist against the goblin in front of him. Now he understands why people use the term transformation. While his existing skill effects remain, they have changed to be more self-focused instead of supportive. He can no longer use the holy aura, but he gained access to the fighting spirit skill, making his aura more suitable for combat. Going up against goblins with his bare fists just got a whole lot easier. As for his holy shield skill, it was replaced by the defense charge skill, allowing him to charge forward with unstoppable momentum and impenetrable defense. Mowing down hordes of goblins with just his body was a cakewalk. He basically got a protective skill, a charge that increases defense and resistance to every status effect there is. Turning into an Inquisitor had made him a full-on combat tank. After he finished testing out his new combat prowess, he turned his attention to his other new skills. He gained a discernment skill that quantifies karma, giving him a numerical value of a person's morality. Jin Hyuk took out his smartphone and opened the front camera to see that the number 64 was displayed on top of his head. It's still a mystery how valuable this skill can be. He had no frame of reference to what constitutes high karma, so he wasn't sure if 64 was good or bad. In addition, he got another skill linked to karma value, the judgment skill. Through this new ability, facing an enemy with a high karma value would boost his stats and additional effects. When facing enemies with 200 or more karma, stats increase by 20%, 50% against 300 karma, and 100% against 500 or more karma. In short, he'll get stronger when fighting against bad guys. This fact alone made the Inquisitor's job worthy of the hidden class distinction. Still, a class that openly pushes the host to take down villains is unheard of. After Jinhyok's experiment, he went straight to the forge. In there, the old dwarf just finished infusing his bat with the power of lightning. The bat can hold up to 3 charges of lightning, and it takes half an hour to recharge each charge. Of course, Jinhyok was very pleased with this power-up. He asked the dwarf how to use this new sick feature, and it turned out to be pretty straightforward. The old dwarf had caught a kobold trying to rob his workshop, so he tied the beast in the backyard. It would be the perfect testing dummy. The monster snarled and growled ferociously, but it could not break free from the chains. To shoot the lightning, Jinhyok doesn't even need to cast a spell or anything. He could just use it in the middle of a fight by imagining the attack in his head. The young man focused and kept his eyes on the prize. He took on a batting stance as if he was about to hit a nasty fastball while imagining the power of lightning coursing through the bat. Jinhyok took a deep breath and locked in. With one full swing, he launched a thunderball. It crackled and ripped through the air without resistance. As soon as it hit the kobold, the poor monster yelped in agony as untold volts of electricity wrecked its body. One charge was all it took to burn the monster dog to a crisp. The chains became undone as the kobold's physical body disintegrated into dust. Even its skeleton was burnt to black, showing how fearsome the thunder charge really was. The old dwarf was visibly proud of his outstanding work. Gaining access to a long-range attack would make fighting a lot easier for Jinhyok now. Now that testing was done, Lucia came up to Jinhyok and asked if they could talk for a second. The feisty elf took him to a corner and grabbed the weird pendant hanging around his neck. She confronted him about what he had been doing outside. Lucia had noticed that the young man no longer had any divine power in his body, not to mention the suspicious item he was wearing around his neck. She was just worried that Jinhyok was planning something strange. The young man defended himself, telling her that this was all just a misunderstanding. He gave Lucia and the old dwarf a rundown of what happened outside. He told them how he got involved in an incident that changed his divine power into something else entirely. Moreover, he can't go into specific details due to the odd trinket given to him by the detectives. In the old dwarf's mind, the solution was simple. He could just deal with the device first, so they could hear the whole story. The blacksmith would gladly tinker with the trinket, but Jinhyok would need to run an errand for him first. Old dwarf swore that the errand was nothing big. It would just be a simple favor in exchange for taking care of the device. After rummaging through his sack, he tossed a compass to the young man's hand. Just by looking at the compass, Lucia seemed to have gathered where the old dwarf was sending Jinhyok, and she looked worried. Clueless as to what he was getting into, the young man wondered if he was being sent to a dangerous place. This little errand brought Kang Jinhyok to a treacherous and mountainous path that seemingly defied the laws of physics. Using some basic hiking gear, he rappelled down a seemingly bottomless hole. That old dwarf sent him to such a dangerous place just to mine ores. While the young man was struggling, Lucia was just chilling. She even teased him for having a hard time with the descent. She asserted that he must follow her lead and never deviate or go off on his own if he doesn't want to get in trouble. Lucia flexed her acrobatic skills and jumped off the cliff gracefully. Without relying on the safety of a rope, she used her hand to scale down the cliff. Jinhyok just sighed. He can't possibly do what she can do so flawlessly. Lucia ragged on him for being too scared. From her perspective, he was just limiting himself and fearing for no reason at all. Without wasting any more time, the elf dove down the bottomless pit, unperturbed as gravity does the heavy lifting. Jinhyok considered that she might be right. Maybe he was being too much of a wuss, and he should just trust his improved capabilities. So, the young man released his anxious grip on the rope and followed Lucia on a free fall. He might as well try and experiment with his body just this once. Upon reaching the tail end of the descent, he used his hands and legs to halt his fall. Landing without an inkling of injury beside Lucia, Jinhyok finally realized that he was not a normal human anymore. The elf already knew that he had the hardware of a superhuman. He was just limiting himself out of old fears. Taking a break in the middle of the mission, they sat on a steep cliff and talked about what really happened outside. Lucia worried that removing the device might get Jinhyok in trouble, but the old dwarf said that it would be fine, so there must be a way. That blacksmith might be a little grumpy at times, but he's truly talented and trustworthy. Even Lucia, who hated the old dwarf's guts, admitted that the old fart is reliable when it comes to things like this. She's pretty curious about the values of karma that came with Jinhyok's new class. She asked what her karma level was, and Jinhyok answered that she had 82, the highest among the three of them. Jinhyok's at 64, and the old dwarf had 72. Considering the rough life that Lucia had led thus far, her karma being the highest did not surprise her. She had to do everything she could to survive after all. Even so, the difference between her and Jinhyok was a measly 20 points, and he only killed one person so far. Lucia, on the other hand, had long since lost count. Come to think of it, in the world she used to live in, there were saints who could distinguish good from evil with just a glance. Jinhyok asserted that he was far from being a saint, and she agreed. She was just saying that the ability to gauge evil exists in other worlds too. Anyway, Lucia wasn't too interested in looking for a mine for that old fart. She was more interested in thoroughly analyzing the young man's new abilities. When asked why she had such a vested interest in Jin Hyuk's abilities, she playfully answered that she just finds him entertaining. Since staying in an abandoned dungeon won't really give them a solid understanding of karma values, Lucia proposed that they go outside to do some experiments. Jin Hyuk feels bad for halting the mission for the old dwarf, but he also wants to understand his new abilities better first and foremost. As Lucia said, staying in a dungeon with just the two of them won't deepen his understanding, so he fished something out of his pockets. Though he felt a bit sorry for the old man, he brought out a return stone to instantly return to a predetermined location he had assigned in the outside world. Upon crushing the stone in his fingers, a dimensional rift opened up right where the two of them were standing. Lucia was taken aback for a moment before being swallowed up by the portal. Surprisingly, doing this increased Jin Hyuk's karma. A few minutes later, the duo found themselves in the middle of the bustling city street. Lucia got herself a drink while Jin Hyuk worried that her camouflage magic wasn't helping detract attention from them. She already told him that she hid her original appearance using magic to blend into the crowd, but the illusion of her wearing human clothes just made them stand out even more. Every person around them cannot take their eyes away from the beautiful woman sitting with Jin Hyuk. Lucia cheekily insisted that she couldn't conceal her beauty, so camouflage wasn't helping much. As Jin Hyuk wanted to disagree, he couldn't. Lucia might be the prettiest woman he had ever seen. Enough with the useless chatter. Lucia wanted to summarize what they know about karma values thus far. Simply put, doing bad things accumulates karma. For example, Jin Hyuk's karma value increased by 1 point due to his failure to keep his promise to the old dwarf. Besides hurting others, karma can increase through other nasty things. On the other hand, if it's consensual harm, like in a self-defense situation, karma values don't go up. They still don't have the baseline of what constitutes high or low karma, but if it's over 200 points, a person is recognized as a villain. Killing someone in the 200 karma value threshold won't get you penalized. It would be considered self-defense instead of murder. The powers that be no longer see them as human. Since even Lucia and the dwarf haven't reached 100 points, you have to be pretty evil to get over 200. Jin Hyuk had been observing people the whole day, and he hadn't even seen an average pedestrian with over 50 points of karma. They're probably wasting their time in a relatively peaceful public place. They need to go to a scummier area to see some real high karma people. Luckily, a place where bad guys gather was easily accessible through the red light district of the city. Lucia was fascinated by the blaring lights in the streets at night. She asked if people weren't afraid of being spotted by monsters or anything like that. Jin Hyuk patiently explained that, unlike in her world, monsters don't wander around Earth normally. As an elf, she found the air of the red light district awful, but at least they had pretty lights. Every world has its own bright sides, after all. As they were walking in the seedy streets, a shady barman approached the two and complimented Lucia's beauty. The man asserted that their bar was having an event, and beautiful ladies could enjoy up to 5 cocktails for free. Lucia simply shoved the man out of the way and continued walking. Before she could get far, Jin Hyuk grabbed her by the shoulder and told her to wait up. The young man insisted that they should stay a while and enjoy those free drinks. The barman lit up and escorted them into the establishment as he swore to give Lucia the best service there is. After walking all day and only seeing normal people with normal karmic values, Jin Hyuk finally found what he was looking for. He finally spotted the barman, a villain scum with 300 karma hanging on top of his head. The duo sat at the bar and enjoyed the liquor served in front of them. The cocktail had a sweet flavor to it, so Lucia liked the drink very much. Meanwhile, the barman was quietly snickering to himself. He just gave those two a poison-laced drink that paralyzes a target with a single drop. Seeing that the fast-acting poison had seemingly taken effect, the barman signaled a group of thugs he had on standby. The thugs aimed to deal with Jin Hyuk first, but as soon as they got close, the young man asked if they were sure about that plan. Due to his status effect resistant skill activating, the poison in the liquor was useless. Jin Hyuk quickly turned around and delivered a staggering blow to one of the thugs' jaws. The young man smiled at the fact that he could finally stretch his limbs against these scrubs. He pulled back and wound up another punch that struck 2 goons at once, a 2-for-1 deal if you will. Based on the distance covered by these flying fools, it was plain to see that the force behind his punches was deadly. Before giving the goons any time to regroup, he pivoted his foot in a sharp motion. He used his other leg to kick another one in the face. One kick was all it took for a knockout. Meanwhile, Lucia slowly opened her eyes as the effects of the paralytic poison gradually dissipated in her body. She turned around and saw a bunch of goons lying on the floor, taken down by Jin Hyuk. Lucia was confused and asked what was happening. Well, the young man was just cleaning up trash. The barman saw everything unfold and finally called his trump card to take action. Buzzcut took his jacket off, and his muscles bulged through his shirt. He knew that he had to take the young man seriously. Buzzcut dashed with impressive force, and the duo just looked at him apathetically. Jin Hyuk fixed his eyes on the man's hulking figure dashing in his direction. Lucia took another shot of the poisoned cocktail and asked if he needed some help. He declined, knowing that he could take another goon by himself. Buzzcut felt infuriated as the duo talked as if he was a non-factor. He swung his best punch only to get stopped by a perfectly timed grab. No matter how hard he tried to push or move around, he could not make Jin Hyuk budge while holding his fist. That meant that the strange young man must be a hunter. Buzzcut looks and fights like a seasoned hunter too. If that was the case, he should be out there hunting monsters instead of playing with gangsters in a seedy bar. Mr. Buzzcut was not expecting to go up against someone like Jin Hyuk in this little operation of theirs. Knowing that he was no match against the young man, he was already mapping out how he could get out of this dicey situation. That's when our boy tilted his grip ever so slightly and broke the man's fist mercilessly. Buzzcut screamed in agony as he felt multiple bones crack and break at the same time. But Jin Hyuk wasn't done yet. To shut Buzzcut up, he launched a punch squarely into the guy's mouth. Buzzcut flew like a loose kite, his momentum being halted by the bar chairs lined up behind him. With every goon taken care of, the only scum remaining was the frightened barman. Jin Hyuk ran like a wild beast and placed the villain in a chokehold, almost crushing his windpipe with relentless intensity. He lifted the barman, cutting off oxygen while he started his interrogation. Of course, it would not be an effective interrogation if he didn't deliver a few hits first. Jin Hyuk indiscriminately painted the bar walls with the villain's blood. By the time he was satisfied with all the punches, the young man's fists were tainted with the barman's blood. He really did a number on the villain's face, making it almost unrecognizable. Jin Hyuk started the interrogation. It was obvious that this was not the first time the barman pulled something like this, and to run this operation, he must have someone backing him up. The barman vehemently denied that he had any backing or anything like that, but there was no way a worthless thug could get away with repeatedly spiking drinks and abducting women without getting caught. Those hired gangsters must also be affiliated with some bigger power. It's impossible to hire them without some organization support. Jin Hyuk looked the villain in the eyes and gave him one last chance to talk. Even after being beaten up and threatened, the barman continued to deny any involvement of a backer. Going this far to not snitch must mean that the barman's incredibly loyal, or whoever's behind everything is scarier than the beating he's taking now. To see which one was true, Jin Hyuk had no choice but to get even rougher. He grabbed one of the barman's feet and started pulling. Confused and scared, the villain started squirming around and screaming. Jin Hyuk insisted that he was simply helping the guy find the motivation to talk in any way possible. Barman tried to act tough and asserted that violence wouldn't make him talk, but the young man begged to differ. Before Jin Hyuk could do something more horrific, Lucia interjected and told him to get out of the way and stop with his barbaric and complicated methods. She manifested a mysterious power in her hand and slowly brought it up to the barman's face. The villain went from scared and confused to relaxed and loose, albeit still ugly. As soon as Lucia's mysterious power entered the barman's system, a few seconds of silence passed. Suddenly, his face twisted into demonic insanity, and he started asking the duo if they were sent by an organization called Altron. He crazily insisted that no matter how much crap Altron pulls, it's too late now. Whatever Lucia did to this guy made him a mumbling fool. Well, she just made it easier for the barman to confess. She wasn't expecting him to go insane and spill like crazy, though. The barman continued that Altron was insignificant, because his tyrant guild would massacre every last one of their enemies. Just like that, the duo found the power backing this horrible operation, the Tyrant Guild. It looks like this situation is bigger than Jin Hyuk initially thought. He asked the crazed barman what made him confident that Tyrant would be able to massacre their enemies. The drooling bastard simply answered that they had Alain's elixir. This answer just confused the young man even more. He didn't know what the barman was talking about. A few minutes later, the police arrived to check the incident out while Jin Hyuk and Lucia dipped out of there. The two of them unexpectedly uncovered a massive conspiracy that goes all the way to the top, with a major guild secretly at the helm. Lucia explained that Alain's elixir is a drug that doubles the user's stats, making it requires countless young women as sacrifices. She never thought that a guild from Earth would be capable of creating something so sinister. She could not believe that a bunch of crazy people were actually trying to create the drug. Alain's elixir existed in her world too. They called it the Queen's Tear. One of Lucia's close friends was sacrificed as fertilizer for that elixir when they were younger. Years later, right after she reached platinum rank, Lucia went on a rampage and personally wiped out the organization behind the drug's production. That explains why she had a grim look on her face ever since they left the bar. The question now would be what they're going to do next. Since the barman spilled that the elixir was almost complete, they just needed to wipe the Tyrant Guild out before its completion. At the same bar, right after the police left the scene, a man covered in all black reported what happened to his superiors. He had a mask and glasses that covered half of his face. Based on his own investigation, the incident in the bar wasn't an internal dispute. What's strange was the perpetrators only killed the barman and left. This bizarre method wouldn't be used by another guild or someone on their side. The masked man's next assignment was to find out who interrupted their operation as soon as possible. He was confident that he could deliver the perpetrators with haste. Let's turn our attention to our friends at the Titan Guild. Currently, the top brass is on an overseas business trip. According to the competent secretary Lee Hyena, the results of their Hong Kong trip were excellent. If their first half performance continues to improve like this, they might be able to entertain the idea of recruiting 15% more guild members. The guild was thriving, but Titan Guild leader Seo Sangho was not feeling too well at the moment. He was stressing over the news regarding Alain's elixir. Just as he expected, Lee Hyena had never heard of such a thing. The association has been trying hard to conceal its existence from the world. It would be tough for Lee Hyena to return to Korea at the moment as she still has some guild business overseas to attend to. Since that was the case, Sangho would have to act on his own for now. He tasked Secretary Lee Hyena to issue an urgent order to the entire guild immediately. As of now, the Titan Guild will be declaring a full-on hostile relationship with the Tyrant Guild. A war is upon everyone. Surprised by such a drastic decision, Lee Hyena asked for more information before they thrust the entire guild into the middle of a major conflict. All Sangho said was that failing to prepare now would only lead to even greater chaos in the future. If the information he received turns out to be true, it would be too late once chaos descends. Lee Hyena demanded what kind of information the leader had just received to act this unhinged. Sangho knew as well as anyone that this order was a declaration of war against an entity as big as their guild. He also assured his secretary that the Ultron Guild and even the government would be on their side when the time came. Even so, war carries enormous risks for everyone involved. Lee Hyena suggested that they at least consult their guild executives to make a more cautious and reasonable decision, but Sangho had already made up his mind. His thoughts have never been clearer, and he has no time for nonsense meetings. Just by looking into his eyes, Lee Hyena knew that the leader had already made up his mind on this matter. Sangho's usually the cautious type, yet he's making such a decisive decision. He understands that she's feeling some reservations about acting blindly without much information at hand. For now, Sangho needs Lee Hyena to trust his call and declare the order confidentially within the guild, while they conduct hushed investigations. The official announcement of war can come later. As for the internal investigations, Sangho already had a few people he wanted more info on. What prompted this sudden shift in Sangho, you ask? Obviously, it was a single text from Jin Hyuk regarding Tyrant's plan to create the sinister drug through human sacrifice. Lucia was just chilling in Jin Hyuk's crib, eating her sweets and nagging the young man regarding his plans. She was glad to know that there were some trusted and level-headed people in this world like Seo Sangho. If no one agreed to join forces and destroy the Tyrant Guild, she would have handled the matter herself. It helped that the method to create Alain's elixir was undoubtedly inhumane. Jin Hyuk asked when the elf would go back to the dungeon instead of emptying his pantry all day, but she refused to go back to the boring dungeon and miss out on the raid against a villainous guild. She reckoned that the Tyrant Guild must not be ordinary hunters if they were crazy enough to concoct something so sinister. Even Jin Hyuk had to admit that he couldn't handle such a large organization by himself. At least not yet. Lucia officially offered her help in wiping out those scum together. Jin Hyuk thanked her for doing so, even if she didn't have to. Suddenly, someone started knocking on the door and calling Kang Jin Hyuk's name. He wasn't really expecting anyone, so this was an unexpected surprise. Maybe it was just a delivery. Perhaps it was something more. Maybe it was the masked man sent to investigate what happened in the bar. He had a magical compass that could track people through blood. He used the barman's blood to track down the traces left on Jin Hyuk's body. From the bar, he didn't even need a car to traverse the rich cityscape flawlessly. Using the roofs of every building on the way, the masked man started his hunt. Finally, he landed in front of an apartment building after pinpointing the blood's direction. He stared at the humble home and could not help but feel a little odd. For a second, he thought the house looked a bit hazy, but he just chucked it up to his imagination. He also recognized the address as the house of the hunter who dealt with the Leviathan a few days ago, which could mean that the two incidents might be somewhat related. But it doesn't really matter to the masked man. He was tasked with a job and he'll do it. Suddenly, he manifested a thick needle emanating a sinister aura from out of thin air. He plans to catch and ask his target a few things. Jin Hyuk walked to the doorway and asked who was on the other side. As expected, the masked man told him that he had a late delivery due to an accident. The young man wasn't dumb. There's no way that a delivery would arrive in the late hours of the night. Besides, there's still a recognition suppression spell cast around the house, making it virtually impossible to find his home. If someone overcame that powerful spell to come here and pretend to be a delivery person, they must be up to no good. Nevertheless, Jin Hyuk opened his door while maintaining his vigilance as the masked man forced his way inside with the sinister needle in hand. He was expecting some dirty tactics, so it wasn't hard for Jin Hyuk to catch the villain's hand as it aimed for him. He cheekily asked if deliveries come with poison darts as a bonus these days. The masked man was supposed to be the one doing the sneak attack, yet he was the one caught off guard. Lucia chimed in and fired an arrow from her bow while hurriedly telling Jin Hyuk to move aside. The arrow's speed and velocity were unparalleled. It was practically impossible to dodge at such close range as it pierced the villain's body. The force behind the shot sent the masked man flying out of the second floor. He bled profusely as the arrow dug deeper into his flesh and organs. Lucia loaded up another shot and asked Jin Hyuk to step aside as she intended to finish the bastard off. Jin Hyuk waved her off and insisted on handling the problem himself, as the masked man must be looking for him because of what happened in the bar. Lucia warned him that the assailant wasn't ordinary by any means, as he managed to survive one of her arrows. As the masked man tried to dislodge the arrow, he shivered as he wondered just who on earth was that woman who pushed him to such a critical state in one attack. He finally got the tip out, bleeding all over the pavement. Every cell in his body was telling him to retreat for now. By the time Jin Hyuk tried to catch up, the masked man was already doing injured parkour on top of the neighboring roofs. Lucia asked if the young man wanted to give chase, but Jin Hyuk found it too troublesome. The bastard would just come after him again anyway. They could just hash it out at a later time. What's more important was the masked man's karma value. He had over 900 on top of his head. That means he's someone who kills like it's nothing. Jin Hyuk was itching to go up against a real villain, so this worked out perfectly. He was even thinking of using the masked man somehow in some way. The next day came, and Jin Hyuk and Lucia were escorted by a guild car to the mountains. The driver pulled over and pointed out the remote investigation site. They were brought here under guild leader Sangho's personal instructions, but it's no secret that there are still a lot of people in the Titan Guild who aren't fond of Jin Hyuk. Looking at the troops gathered at the foot of the investigation site, the young man assessed that half of them were A-rank hunters, or higher, an elite group through and through. As for the guy at the helm, it was the asshole who tried to pick a fight with Jin Hyuk back then. It looks like Executive Han Yong-seok will be taking the lead on this operation. Right from the get-go, Jin Hyuk could already sense a bad feeling that this mission was about to get annoying really fast. The executive formally introduced himself as the head of the operation. Much to Jin Hyuk's surprise, the bastard brought up the fact that they met one another during the last airstrike. The young commented on the executive's changed personality, as he seemed much more amicable and kinder today compared to before. Yong-seok cleared his throat and awkwardly apologized for his behavior from that time. He just got a little too excited in his efforts for the guild, so he wanted to take this opportunity to say sorry about their first encounter in hopes that it won't affect today's operation. Yong-seok also asked who the woman that Jin Hyuk had brought was. The young man introduced Lucia as a skilled colleague who wouldn't be a hindrance to the mission. There was no mention of any other additional personnel, so the executive was a little rattled. But before he could protest, the recon team they sent ahead had come back. Yong-seok excused himself for a moment to listen to his scout's report. Sure, the bastard might have apologized on the surface, but he was still looking down on Jin Hyuk and Lucia, thinking that they were merely C-rank noobs. It doesn't matter how strong they are anyways, this four-eyed bastard has his own agenda in this mission after all. Lucia immediately picked up on the executive's duplicitous nature and consulted Jin Hyuk if they would just let the guy lead. He assured her that they'd be fine. More importantly, someone has been tailing them since earlier. Both Lucia and Jin Hyuk clocked their not-so-covert tail long ago. The young man opted to let this pursuer be, as they could use him elsewhere later. Before the raid started, Jin Hyuk handed Lucia a bright magical crystal. The little gem is a communication item. It allows contact with anyone within a 10-kilometer range. They'll need it later, so it's best to keep it handy. Yong-seok came back with the confirmation of the initial reports. From what they've gathered, it's clear that the Tyrant Guild is involved in human trafficking. As for the plan of attack, the executive actually wanted to ask Jin Hyuk for a favor. After investigating, the recon team found a strong barrier installed around the building. They also believe that there's only one person capable of breaching that barrier without being detected. Yong-seok insisted that there was no one more suitable to sneak through the barrier than Jin Hyuk. The young man freely called him out for essentially requesting a literal death walk behind enemy lines. The executive continued playing the part of an impartial team leader. He even sarcastically claimed that only the man who took down the Leviathan could pull off this stealth mission. Besides, rather than moving with the Titan Guild members, whom he never worked with before, it would be much easier to work on his own. Yong-seok was just putting everything on Jin Hyuk's shoulders. He's blatantly passing on all the risks to one person. They might think that they're getting one up on Jin Hyuk, but this is precisely the situation he was hoping for. So, Jin Hyuk joined a select team of Titan Guild hunters to sneak into the part of the barrier where they could penetrate. The plan is simple. The magic team will create a small breach in the barrier, and Jin Hyuk will have to needle his way in. They reached the eastern facade of the facility and sped up. This incompetent magic team can only sustain a small breach for a few seconds, so Jin Hyuk needs to act fast and run with all his strength. Without wasting another moment, they started working on the barrier to give the young man a sliver of entry point. Jin Hyuk doesn't even mind that he is getting played and deliberately delivered to the enemies. He was just curious as to what the Tyrant Guild was hiding in these mountains. As soon as the breach was established, he ran inside the barrier and excitedly looked around the compound. Jin Hyuk hit the brakes and summoned his trusty bat. only to see an odd sight in front of him. The appearance of the base inside was completely different from what it looked like outside. The protective barrier must have been layered with a distortion effect. First things first, he needs to find the entrance to this massive base camp. After a few minutes of walking around without action, he found it odd that there were fewer guards than he expected there to be. The first guard he spotted was posted up near the barrier, seemingly guarding an entrance. If there's a guard, there must be something that needs to be guarded. This was Jin Hyuk's most promising lead yet. He took to the air and raised his bat, imbuing his monstrous strength on his wind-up. Jin Hyuk swung his bat, and much to his surprise, the guard standing by turned to smoke as his weapon hit the ground. It turned out to be an illusion, and not a real person. He thought he could knock a guard out to capture and interrogate so he could open the door, but now it's solely up to him to figure that out. Much to his surprise, this supposedly secure facility had automatic doors like a freaking supermarket. The defenses were laughably lax, and it doesn't even look like they had CCTVs installed. They must think that the women they abducted had no chance of escaping anyway. Just to be sure that he won't get bamboozled, Jin Hyuk brought an insurance policy through his inventory. He retrieved an EMP generator made from the materials of electric-type monsters and casually dropped it on the floor. With this, any communications or security devices in the immediate vicinity would be disabled. This is why he left a magic communication crystal with Lucia. As soon as the EMP took effect, Jin Hyuk planned out his next steps. With the whole compound cut off the grid, it's about time to get started on his actual mission. From a distance, the masked man continued keeping a close eye on Jin Hyuk. He was starting to piece together the young man's involvement with the bar accident and the Titan Guild. Just like everyone else, the masked man seems to have his own hidden agenda too, and Jin Hyuk plays a crucial role in making it go smoothly. As a result of the EMP that Jin Hyuk set off, one of the idle guards of the facility watched as his game was interrupted as his phone died. The guard blamed the countryside's remoteness for messing with his gaming time. When he finally sensed that something wasn't right, a red bat was already bashing the side of his face without mercy. Jin Hyuk didn't even swing. He actually threw his weapon and stabbed that bastard with the blunt tip of his baseball bat. After making sure that the guard was out of commission, he used auto-recovery to call his bat back. Jin Hyuk finally found someone made of flesh and blood to beat up. The guard's blood splattered to a nearby wall as he hit the smooth concrete floor with a thud. This dude he just killed wasn't a hunter. He was just an ordinary guy, but he had a whopping 800 karma hanging over his head. This place is undoubtedly full of vile, inhuman trash. Now Jin Hyuk can wipe out everyone involved in this operation without hesitation. Upon entering the locked gate, he was greeted by a long hall of prison doors. This must be the place where they've been keeping all the abducted women. The living conditions in each cell were abysmal. They were chained up like animals waiting for their turn to be used as fertilizer for that damned elixir. Jin Hyuk's thoughts was interrupted by a man's voice asking who he was. One of the cells in this prison row was different than the rest. Instead of a woman, a dude was imprisoned in one of them. Jin Hyuk also recognized the uniform that the man was wearing. The uniform of the Tyrant Guild itself. Mr. Prisoner warned the young man to run away before it was too late, as everyone in this facility had already gone insane. Outside, the scummy team leader looked at his watch and timed Jin Hyuk's infiltration. It's been a while since the young man went in, and things are still quiet. Maybe it's time for the main force to move too. Young-sok ordered his men to push and go on standby near the facility, ready to go in if anything unusual happened. As soon as he gave the go signal, the Titans rushed forward like a flock of flies with their black jackets. Lucia just stood there, unmoving and nonchalant. Young-sok can't figure out what her deal was. Finally, the four-eyed bastard joined his men to stand by while Jin Hyuk did all the work inside. Lucia wonders if it's time for her to do her part too. Before the mission started, Jin Hyuk swore to deal with the situation inside the building on his lonesome. Her job would be to keep a close watch on the Titans outside. They still don't know what Hang Young-suk might try to pull, so Lucia has to be vigilant. The young man warned her not to get too involved, but that's never been her style. Back inside the facility, Mr. Prisoner introduced himself as young Doyun. Jin Hyuk asked the dude why a Tyrant Guild member like him would be in such a sorry state. Doyun confessed that he was imprisoned for trying to kill Alain herself. Right now, they're just keeping him alive for his expertise in illusion skills. That distortion effect on the protective barrier and the fake guard must be his doing. Jin Hyuk was curious why this guy would try to flush his guild's research down the toilet. It was simple, really. Doyun just couldn't stomach seeing his colleagues throw women to monsters as bait. He reached his limit and tried to take Alain down once and for all, only to get caught and imprisoned. Jin Hyuk was pleasantly surprised to see a reasonable Tyrant Guild member like this guy. Even his karma score was low, only at 62. The young man formally invited Doyun to work together and take down this damned facility. Meanwhile, the grunt assigned to monitor the control room was sleeping soundly in his comfortable office chair. Finally waking up, he realized that he must have dozed off on the job again. He always gets sleepy at this hour, so it was nothing new, and nothing ever happened in this place, so it was fine. Instead of waking up to live feeds of the entire facility, he woke up to black screens. He looked around to try and understand what was happening, but to no avail. Panicking, he tried to turn the system back on, but the problem was the power source fried by Jin Hyuk's EMP. Every electronic device, including smartphones, was out of commission. The entire computer system is down, and he slept through it. The control room guy is in the running for Employee of the Month. Right outside the command center, a few of the Tyrant boys were playing some cards to pass the time. They were having a jolly old time until the control room guy started yelling about some emergency. The Tyrant boys were alarmed, and worse of all, their game was interrupted. The control room guy informed everyone that the entire system was completely offline. To make matters worse, all the women are gone from their prison cells. They have an intruder that plunged the whole place into chaos. The team leader split their forces into two. Team 1 would head to the Alain production room, while Team 2 looked for the intruder and the women. As for the dumbass that let it happen, the control room dude was tasked with finding a way to contact the headquarters no matter what. Every single prison cell had been opened, freeing the abducted women. Right now, they're heading for the nearest exit with their lives on the line. Doyun knew the layout of the facility, so he led everyone to the optimal path. They've gotten so close, and yet so far, as the Tyrant boys caught up to their escape trail. With the escaping women found, the Tyrant boys started pouring in. The first responder immediately recognized Doyun as he directed the girls to the exit. The absolute gigachad let the women through and stayed behind to buy some more time for them to run away. Tyrant boy number 1 got too eager and rushed in by himself, threatening to kill Doyun once and for all. As soon as the punch landed, Doyun reminded his former comrades of his specialty, illusion. Tyrant boy number 1 could hardly contain his anger for falling victim to such a simple trick. While Team 2 was playing catch-up with Doyun and the girls, Team 1 was suffering a much more painful fate. Each of them carried a measly knife to a baseball bat fight. Jin Hyuk did quick work on the team assigned to protect the Alain production room. He used his superior technique and footwork to make a fool of these half-assed fighters left and right. The young man bashed each of their heads in, using one swing for each bastard. Jin Hyuk finished the last Tyrant boy off, and he did not even break a sweat. Seeing as how these boys were so desperately trying to guard the gate up front, it was obvious that Alain was being housed behind the door. Jin Hyuk gained access to the room and carefully entered. He looked around and saw all the equipment that the Tyrant scums had gathered to make the inhumane drug. They've gone as far as hiding a gargantuan lab underground for security. Human-sized test tubes littered the lab, each one containing women that the Tyrant Guild had abducted. Seeing the scale of their evil operation firsthand was even more disgusting than Jin Hyuk imagined. In the middle of the lab was a monster encased in protective glass. It must be Alain, the source of all this grief and evil. Jin Hyuk gripped his bat tightly. The monster doesn't seem to be reacting to his presence. It's entirely possible that it was sleeping. With a smile on his face, the young man called onto the lightning dwelling inside his weapon and took on a batting stance. If everything works out, he could finish this thing once and for all. But that would be too easy. Alain must have sensed danger and woke up. She broke through the protective glass and sent her tentacles hurtling forward ferociously. Jin Hyuk had to move and dodge on the fly as the fast-moving tentacles aimed at his vital points. His lightning attack had to be cancelled. He observed the movements of the tentacles, and his fear grew. With how heavy and fast those things attacked, if he got hit in the wrong spot, he would be done for. For now, all he can do is go on the defensive while waiting and hoping for an opening to strike. Jin Hyuk forced himself to lock in. He must remain calm if he wants to stay in one piece. For those of you hoping for a cute tentacle girl, we won't be getting that today. Alain looked like a crackhead with tentacles. Finally, the crackhead beast broke free of her glass encasement, sending thousands of sharp shards flying everywhere. It's starting to look like our boy is totally outclassed this time around. Jin Hyuk activates hard skin, giving himself extra protection. He quickly dodges an attack and pushes forward, determined to end the fight. However, a powerful attack nearly breaks him, making him realize how strong his opponent is. Afterwards, he steadies himself and prepares for another move. His enemy is not going down easily, so he must fight even harder. With renewed focus, Jin Hyuk delivers a final attack, determined to end the fight against the monster that devours people. He barely manages to take care of it. As he looks around, he notices a strange item, Alain's magic stone. Examining it closely, he realizes it can't be appraised, but based on its size and shape, it resembles a magic stone. Deciding to get answers later, he plans to ask the dwarf uncle about it. Jin Hyuk wonders if he should check what's happening outside. He reaches out to Lucia, asking if she can hear him clearly and how things are going on her side. He wants to know if the girls managed to escape safely. Lucia responds, explaining that a man and the girls have headed down the mountain. However, the ones chasing them are dressed the same, which seems suspicious. Lucia listens as he clarifies that the man was once captured for betraying the tyrant but seems trustworthy. They decided to work together, and now he is our ally. Jin Hyuk reassures and confirms that they are on the same side. Now that the situation is clearer, Lucia asks about something more important, checking if Alain has been dealt with. Afterwards, Jin Hyuk reassures that Alain has been taken care of properly, and that he has also secured the magic stone. Kang Jin-hyuk, still focused on the situation outside, wonders about the ones who were chasing the girls. Lucia explains that those people have been in combat for a while now. As soon as the ones in white clothing appeared, the Titan group immediately rushed to fight them. However, something about the battle seems unusual. She observes that the ones in white ate something, and after that, their appearance changed. Now the Titans, who initially had the upper hand, are starting to struggle. Jin-hyuk wonders if the strange transformation is related to what someone mentioned earlier, Alraun's drug. Realizing the danger, Jin-hyuk knows it will be a big problem if the Titan Guild collapses now. Despite finding the Titan members annoying, he understands that stopping the Tyrant Guild takes priority at the moment. He asks Lucia if she can assist them in the fight to prevent things from getting worse. Lucia understands the plan and agrees to take care of the white-clad enemies. She reassures Jin-hyuk that he can count on her, but in return, she demands a large supply of sweets as a reward. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk senses that everything on Lucia's side is falling into place. Confident that the battle is nearly over, he calls out to someone hiding nearby, referring to them as Mr. Delivery Man. A mysterious figure steps forward, surprised that Kang Jin-hyuk noticed him. Moreover, Jin-hyuk wonders if he is his target, or if he is also after Alraun's magic stone. However, he reveals that his goal was initially the same but has now changed. Kang Jin-hyuk warns him that he will regret whatever choice he just made. As they engage in battle, the enemy is shocked by the incredible reaction speed, something far beyond what an average C-rank hunter should be capable of. The bastard recalls the moment when our guy blocked the poison darts earlier, wondering if it was truly just luck. Despite his doubts, he reassures himself that, in the end, the guy he is dealing with just a C-rank hunter. He activated his ability, preparing to finish him off. However, as he attacks, he realizes something unexpected. Jin-hyuk is wearing armor. Afterwards, he attempts to retreat, but before he can get away, he feels a sharp force stopping him. Jin-hyuk is not letting him escape this time. The enemy barely manages to block the attack. Doubt creeps in as he realizes that Ji-hyuk is much stronger than he first thought. Frustrated, he shouts, promising to get revenge, unable to accept that he is being beaten. But Jin-hyuk declares that there won't be another chance, believing this place will be his final resting place. With all the fallen taken care of, the focus shifts to the injured. Ensuring their safety is the next priority. Meanwhile, a report must be made. The discovery of hidden drugs by the tyrants comes as a shock. Without unexpected help from a mysterious woman, survival would have been impossible. Her arrows carried power nearly equal to an S rank, yet no known female hunter has ever displayed such strength. With the situation under control, the wounded are sent to the hospital, and all possible evidence is taken care of. With the tyrants seemingly handled, attention turns to finishing the welcome party properly. However, before they can proceed, someone arrives, breathing heavily, carrying an urgent message. He reveals that the Tyrant Guild leader and their strongest members are on the way. The mere mention of Cho-won Cheol, an S-rank hunter, makes it clear that staying would be a mistake. The guy with glasses gets frustrated and realizes that they have to go back when they are just about to defeat them. Suddenly, they receive an urgent transmission. Apparently, a small group of Tyrant Guild members is approaching fast, likely their vanguard. The warning was true. Danger is coming fast. The enemy is getting closer, leaving no choice but to end the mission. Afterwards, the decision is made quickly that everyone must leave immediately, making sure to escape without delay. One person chooses to stay behind, knowing that disappearing could create suspicion. Staying will help in making an alibi and shifting the blame elsewhere. A false report will be given to make it seem like someone else is responsible. Preventing a direct conflict between the Titan and Tyrant guilds is the main goal. After thinking it through, they decide to put all the blame on Hunter Kang Jin-hyuk, who is still inside. This explanation seems like the best way to cover their tracks and leave without being noticed. Doubts arise about trusting the traitor, as fooling the Tyrant Guild won't be easy. However, the real goal isn't deception, but buying enough time. That time will be used to prepare for a war. Once the truth is revealed, justification will be on their side. This moment is the perfect chance to attack and completely eliminate the enemy. Afterwards, Lucia questions if the person standing there is the one Kang Jin-hyuk mentioned. There is no time to waste. Kang Jin-hyuk is waiting inside. Everything is progressing more smoothly than expected. As they arrive at their destination, our boy promptly updates his fellows regarding latest reports, confirming that he has taken care of the pursuer. When asked about the current situation, he explains that Alraun is dead. However, there is another issue that needs to be handled. He requests help in making it appear as though the body before them had died in battle against Alraun. The real reason behind this plan soon becomes clear. A document is handed over, urging a closer look. As the contents are read, shock spreads. The names listed belong to recent victims of a series of brutal murders. If the information is accurate, then the implications are terrifying. The infamous Great Guild Killer has always been targeting large guilds. This presents an opportunity that if the blame is placed on him, no one will suspect anything else. Kang Jin-hyuk shares his plan, asking Jung Doyun if he can make it happen. Jung Doyun agrees, recognizing that the idea is great. Lucia, still unsure of the full picture, seeks reassurance that this plan won't bring unintended consequences. Afterwards, Kang Jin-hyuk assures them that everything is under control. With the decision made, the next priority is to leave the area quickly. The Tyrant Guild's main forces are expected to arrive soon, but not everything is as it seems. Half of what was said about their arrival was true. Moreover, the forces are on their way, but they won't reach the location for at least 2 more hours. The group they saw earlier was nothing more than an illusion. Jung Doyun praises and thanks Jin-hyuk for the rescue efforts that saved so many. However, there is no need for thanks. The real battle is only beginning. Moreover, the Tyrant Guild has suffered a serious setback, and when word spreads, other guilds won't stay silent. Afterwards, Jin-hyuk is looking forward to seeing how the Tyrant Guild crumbles. The Tyrant Guild's downfall seems closer than ever. Their hidden crimes are far worse than expected, making it necessary to involve higher authorities. To prevent getting directly caught up in a guild war, the information must be sent anonymously to the Hunter Association, the police, the government, and the media. Some worry that revealing everything will only benefit other guilds, but protecting innocent people matters more than gaining a short-term advantage. Soon, the shocking truth spreads everywhere. A powerful hunter guild has been secretly raising monsters and using humans as food. The public is horrified, and officials declare it a serious crime, promising a full investigation. Major guilds step forward, offering their full cooperation in uncovering the extent of these crimes. However, Tyrant Guild refuses to cooperate even a bit in this investigation. We then cuts to young Seok, losing his bananas after watching everything going viral. As if on cue, the Titan Guildmaster Sangho contacts him, and the Bleachhead starts berating the Titan Guildmaster for leaking all this info for the public to see. The frustration is evident because after all their efforts, another guild is being treated as the hero for exposing the truth. Keeping the information hidden would have allowed the Tyrant Guild to retaliate before anyone could unite against them. Han Young-seok argues that successfully recruiting an S-class hunter would have ensured victory over the Tyrant Guild. On the other side, Seo Sang-ho remains doubtful, pointing out that even with such a powerful ally, defeating the Tyrant Guild's master would never be certain. The debate over the guild war continues, Han Young-seok thinking they can take over the Tyrant Guild without worrying about the damage. Moreover, Seo Sang-ho argues that innocent people could suffer, making it too dangerous. Afterwards, Han Young-seok is questioned about his true intentions. A guild's duty is to protect, not just gain more power. He insists he only wanted what was best. Moreover, he realizes the guild leader always dismisses his ideas. He believes the Titan Guild has no future under its current leadership and is heading toward ruin. This is then the bastard contacts a certain someone and promises them the position in the guild, so long they overthrow the current Titan Guildmaster. We then cut to our boy, who is about to have chat with someone in secret. The meeting spot seems odd for a secret discussion, but Jung Dae-yoon arrives as planned. Kang Jin-hyuk greets him, noticing he looks more confident. The plan appears to be going well, and the lies prepared earlier have made things easier within the guild. Despite this, the situation isn't completely safe yet. The guild is planning to send a team to track down Kang Jin-hyuk. Considering how unstable the guild is, it seems strange for them to have the resources for this. However, some higher-ups have started questioning the recent events. The news of the murderer's body was discovered and spread unusually fast, making them suspect there might be another real culprit. Though there is no proof yet, doubts are beginning to rise. Since the plan worked, there's no risk of his identity being revealed, but staying cautious is still necessary. For now, it's best to keep a low profile until the Tyrant Guild collapses completely. Afterwards, Jung Dae-yoon hands over details about those leading the investigation and asks if Kang Jin-hyuk wants to check immediately. However, it doesn't seem necessary since they are all just illusions. Kang Jin-hyuk had already figured it out from the start. With no one else around, he wants to know who exactly is after him. The answer is an archer and a mage, both experts in disguise and concealment magic. They might even approach him while pretending to be someone familiar. After confirming the details, there's one more piece of information. The person mentions something called the monster counter. Kang Jin-hyuk recalls it being used when assisting the Titan Guild earlier, but this version looks different. It turns out to be an advanced model, improving upon the original device. After analyzing the Al-Round incident, the association developed a system to monitor hunters. Every hunter, starting with their guild, will be required to wear it, bringing them all under the association's supervision. Even hunting in dungeons might become difficult. If Kang Jin-hyuk plans to take the pill to grow stronger, he must act quickly before the monitoring system is fully implemented. If his strength increases after the system is in place, the association will take notice, and even the Tyrant Guild might start suspecting him. To avoid unnecessary attention, he needs to complete this process as soon as possible. A surveillance system like this was unexpected, but there's no choice now. Moreover, the priority is to get stronger, even if only a little. Without wasting time, he decides to head straight to the dungeon. In the dungeon, our beloved dwarf is angry at our boy for making him wait all this time. He had sent him to retrieve some ore, yet he vanished without a trace. Now, out of nowhere, he returns with something unexpected. With an apologetic tone, he explains that unavoidable circumstances caused the delay. After weeks of silence, he finally returned, acting like nothing had happened. The frustration is obvious. He quickly apologizes, trying to explain that he had something important to do. But that didn't change the situation. The item he brought wasn't just any material. It was cursed, filled with the grudges of many. Dwarves who were sensitive to curses wouldn't even go near it. Lucia had left earlier, saying she had something urgent to handle. Now, it seemed like it was connected to this. Instead of bringing the needed ore, he had returned with something completely useless. He was immediately told to get rid of it. Panicked, he insisted that he didn't know what it was. But that excuse didn't matter. His mistake had already been made. Even so, throwing it away seemed like a waste. There had to be another use for it. Then, there was only one option left. Moreover, Lucia's words from earlier suddenly made sense. She had hinted that our dwarf would not be able to deal with the stuff our boy brought. Now it was clear why she had said that. There was a place below the cliff he had visited. A place known as the Temple of the Dragon. A key was given with instructions to unlock the temple and remove the curse from the ore. If successful, a weapon even stronger than the current one would be made in return. There was curiosity about whether the key would really open the temple. The answer was yes, but a serious warning followed that this place is not an ordinary temple. It was far more dangerous than any dungeon faced before. Going in unprepared would be too risky. The decision was made to leave for now. No matter how far they have traveled, safety is more important. Kang Jin-hyuk watches Lucia speed ahead, realizing how quick she is. As he thinks about preparing for the upcoming challenge, only potions and scrolls come to mind. But he feels that might not be enough. Before he can ask Lucia for advice, he notices his food supply disappearing and catches her eating what was supposed to last a month. Before he can react, a call interrupts him. Secretary Lee Haina from the Titan Guild urgently asks for his help, mentioning the guildmaster Sangho. Her desperate tone makes him curious about what might have happened. Afterwards, Kang Jin-hyuk rushes to the location after hearing the urgency in Lee Haina's voice. When he arrives, he finds Sangho in critical condition, covered in blood and barely holding on. Lee Haina desperately tries to reassure him. Jin-hyuk quickly moves to provide first aid, knowing there is no time to waste. He pours a potion over the wound, easing some of the damage. Though the worst seems to have passed, he needs answers. Looking at the injured man and the shaken secretary, he wonders what exactly happened to lead to this brutal attack. Sangho struggles to speak. He explains that it was a trap set by his own guild members. After returning home, he attended a guild event, expecting a normal gathering. However, something felt off when he noticed only Han Young-seok's faction was present. Before he could react, it was too late. The drinks had been poisoned. His body weakened rapidly, but he pushed through, fighting with everything he had to escape. Even with all his strength, he barely made it out alive, collapsing from his injuries. Jin-hyuk listens carefully. Even with poison in his system, ordinary guild members shouldn't have been strong enough to overpower Sangho. He wonders what else might have happened. Before he can ask, Sangho trembles in pain. Moreover, Sangho's condition worsens as the wounds that were healed by the potion start reopening. The poison from the party must be much stronger than expected. Jin-hyuk quickly realizes they need to act fast. He wonders if anyone knows exactly what kind of poison was used and whether an antidote exists. Hyena hesitates, explaining that standard hunter antidotes won't work in this situation. Afterwards, Jin-hyuk suggests taking him to a hunter-specialized hospital, but Sangho reminds them that going to a hospital would only expose their location, and their enemies would find them in no time. Jin-hyuk considers their options and suddenly asks Hyena if she has a car. She is confused about where they are going. He tells her to prepare to leave immediately. They are going to his home. Moreover, she is surprised and wonders if he has an antidote there. Jin-hyuk reassures her that he doesn't, but he might have another way to treat the poison. Hyena quickly agrees and rushes to get ready, determined to drive as fast as possible while Jin-hyuk stays behind to keep an eye on Sangho. As they near their destination, Jin-hyuk urges Sangho to stay awake and hold on a little longer. Hina suddenly notices something concerning. She wonders if Jin-hyuk has seen the car following them. Afterwards, Jin-hyuk quickly glances back and realizes it's the same vehicle they spotted earlier in front of the house. Hyena confirms his suspicion that they are being followed. Jin-hyuk realizes he can't go straight home while being followed. With no other option, he decides to change plans. He instructs Hyena to follow his directions carefully and take a different route. As they reach a specific point, Jin-hyuk prepares to confront Kang Jun-tae. He tells Hyena to drive straight to his house while he stays behind to handle the situation. His colleague has already been informed and will let her in upon arrival. Kang Juntae, expecting to find Seo Sangho, is surprised to see a stranger standing in his way instead. Moreover, he wonders if Jin Hyuk truly intends to stop him alone. Meanwhile, Jin Hyuk studies him closely, wondering if this man is the only tracker or if someone else is. Afterwards, Jin Hyuk wonders why Hina isn't heading to the house as planned. Before he can question her further, she suddenly shouts for him to escape at all costs, and then she reveals the terrifying truth. The man chasing them is an S-class hunter. Shock hits Jin Hyuk as he hears the name Kang Juntae. His presence detection skill activates, confirming the immense power. The force of Kang Juntae's aura spreads across the area, making it clear that this is no ordinary opponent. Jin Hyuk struggles to hold his ground. Hina asks if he is okay, but he barely manages to respond, realizing he can't last much longer. He urges her to escape immediately, promising to find a way to catch up later. Hyena is unwilling to leave him behind, but he insists. Understanding the danger, she finally agrees and rushes away. However, Kang Juntae refuses to let his prey escape so easily. He moves to intercept, determined to stop them. Jin Hyuk throws himself in the way once again, frustrating the S-class hunter. Juntae wonders why this man keeps interfering with his plans. Jin Hyuk does everything he can to buy time. Hyena is now a safe distance away, hoping that Jin Hyuk will survive and return alive. Moreover, Jin Hyuk realizes the intensity of the situation. Kang Juntae, clearly annoyed, wonders why someone like Jin Hyuk is interfering, and warns him to step aside if he values his life, claiming he is too busy to deal with distractions. Jin Hyuk refuses to back down. He wonders if Juntae truly believes he would just run away in fear. Before Jin Hyuk can react, Juntae moves with speed. Each attack is not just fast but dangerously powerful. Every strike forces Jin Hyuk to dodge desperately, knowing that even a single hit could end him. Afterwards, Juntae taunts him to keep going, eager to see how long he can last. His attacks grow fiercer, and Jin Hyuk realizes that if he takes a direct hit, it will be over. Thinking quickly, he activates his inventory and equips his mithril chainmail armor. The unique effect immediately takes hold, reducing both physical and magical damage by half. As the next attack hits Jin Hyuk, he realizes just how close he came to death. If not for the armor he had prepared in advance, he wouldn't have survived that last attack. Juntae observes him, noting that he hadn't expected Seo Sangho to have someone this skilled under him. But then, something clicks in his mind. He wonders if Jin Hyuk is the C-class hunter rumored to have captured a new type of monster. The name sounds familiar. Han Young-seok had mentioned someone like him before, someone who was quite close to Seo Sangho. Afterwards, Jin Hyuk quickly realizes that his identity has been exposed. Even if he manages to escape now, it's only a matter of time before they track him down. His house won't remain safe for long. Before he can think further, he realizes that he can even escape from someone as powerful as Juntae. Afterwards, Juntae makes an unexpected offer. He tells Jin Hyuk to forget about Seo Sangho and join forces with him instead. The new Titan Guild needs someone like him. Jin Hyuk rejects the offer, standing firm in his decision. We then cut to Lucia, who is trying her best to heal the guildmaster, but she reaches her breaking point, realizing she can't push any further at the moment. Stepping back, she wonders if it's best to go outside and discuss the situation. The poison in Seo Sangho's body remains dangerously strong. Although Lucia has taken temporary measures to help him rest, it's clear that the treatment isn't complete. The pain is gone for now, but it won't last long. Lee Hyena becomes more concerned, wonders what they should do next, and asks if there's any other way to treat him. Lucia thinks for a moment before recalling someone who might be able to help. A certain short man comes to mind. If anyone can do it, it's probably him. However, there's another problem. To enter the dungeon where the solution might be found, they need Jin Hyuk. A possibility exists, but it won't be easy. Meanwhile, in battle, Jin Hyuk struggles to keep up. His opponent keeps attacking, leaving him no time to recover. Every hit shakes him, and the energy he had at the start is fading fast. Moreover, he knows he has reached his limit, and drinking a potion would help. But there's no chance to do so with the continuous attacks. There's only one option left. He must go all in with one final strike. Determined, he refuses to give up. If this is the end, he will make it count. Gathering his remaining strength, he prepares for one last desperate attack. No matter how hard he tries, his attacks keep missing their mark. Frustration builds, but Kang Juntae remains unimpressed, calling the fight boring. Without warning, a deadly attack comes his way. He knows he must dodge, but his body refuses to move, and he ends up taking hit. Panic sets in as he desperately tries to command himself to react. His mind screams for his body to move, yet he remains frozen. At the last moment, his instincts take over, and he barely shifts to avoid a fatal blow. Kang Juntae acknowledges his quick move, impressed that he managed to survive. Once again, an offer is made to join forces and live. Jin Hyuk refuses, and Kang Juntae realizes that there is no other way. The final attack is about to land, and Jin Hyuk wonders if this is truly the end. Just then, an arrow flies through the air, interrupting the fight. Lucia has arrived. Let's take a step back to understand how this 10 out of 10 baddie came here. Lucia moves quickly, following the directions she memorized. Even though it's her first time going through this path, she pushes forward without hesitation. Every step brings her closer, and she hopes she isn't too late. Moreover, she prays silently for Jin Hyuk to hold on. He just needs to survive a little longer. Meanwhile, the battle continues. Kang Juntae prepares to end the fight, but before the final strike hits, an arrow cuts through the air. The unexpected attack forces him to step back. He looks at the arrow in disbelief that it carries so much power. Jin Hyuk is struggling to stay and recognizes the arrow immediately. Lucia has arrived just in time to save Jin Hyuk, surprising their enemy with her strength. He initially underestimates her, thinking she isn't a real threat, but quickly realizes his mistake when she easily blocks his attack. Shocked by her power, Kang Juntae struggles to understand how she can match him. Meanwhile, Lucia remains focused, knowing this isn't the time for lessons. She needs to end the fight quickly. Lucia breaks the enemy's spear with her hands, leaving him in shock. He struggles to understand how he is being pushed back so easily. The thought crosses his mind that she might be an S-class hunter from another country, as he would have known if such a powerful hunter was in the area. Jin Hyuk, still recovering, is equally stunned by her strength. Afterwards, Lucia sees that he can move and gives him a choice, asking Jin Hyuk whether she should finish their opponent or leave it at this. Jin Hyuk advises her that there is no need to get further involved. Also, he suggests Lucia end the fight, but Kang Juntae refuses to acknowledge defeat. He realizes, however, that continuing would only bring unnecessary risk, so he agrees to stop for now, though he masks it with arrogance. Afterwards, Lucia teases him, but he remains firm and says that he will remember this day. Before leaving, he issues a final warning, declaring that the next time they meet, both she and Jin Hyuk will face their end. And with that, he disappears. With the fight over, Lucia finally helps Kang Jin Hyuk recover and reassures him that his condition isn't as bad as expected. And to his surprise, his wounds heal completely. Grateful, he thanks her, impressed by her combat skills and healing abilities. Lucia takes pride in her strength, teasing him about finally recognizing her greatness. Afterwards, Jin Hyuk jokes about her being an overpowered character, explaining that it's a compliment. Then, he asks Lucia about guild leader Seo Sangho, to which she responds that he is resting at home, but without proper treatment, his condition remains critical. They consider the possibility that the dwarf they encountered earlier might have the antidote, making it clear they can't afford to waste time. Afterwards, they prepare to head back immediately. Moreover, Lucia warns Jin Hyuk not to overexert himself, reminding him that his wounds could reopen if he isn't careful. With his identity exposed, Kang Jin Hyuk knows that danger comes at any moment. He insists that they need to act quickly, but their priority remains saving Seo Sangho. Arriving at their destination, Uncle is frustrated, pointing out that Jin Hyuk failed to bring the ore needed for purification. Instead, he has brought a poisoned person, making it difficult to proceed. Jin Hyuk apologizes, explaining that things didn't go as planned, but promises to make it up later. His main concern is saving Seo Sangho. However, the situation worsens when they learn that the poison affecting Seo Sangho is basilisk venom. An antidote is needed, but the necessary materials aren't available in this location. Jin Hyuk wonders if his uncle might have the antidote. Afterwards, he responds that he isn't a magical treasure chest that holds everything. Meanwhile, Seo Sangho turns to Jin Hyuk with curiosity, wondering about this place. Jin Hyuk acknowledges the question but avoids a full explanation, simply suggesting to think of it as one of his abilities for now. Kang Jin Hyuk considers the risks of revealing this secret place but decides to trust the guild leader, just as the guild leader had trusted him first. The uncle hands over a medicine, explaining that it will only buy them time. At best, it will last for half a day, and if they fail to find the antidote within that period, Seo Sangho won't survive. Jin Hyuk asks if there are any other treatments, but the response isn't hopeful. A hunter-specialized hospital might have the antidote, but as Seo Sangho had warned, their enemies would track them down the moment they went there. But this is then my guy remembers something. Later, they return back to Earth and he is having conversation with our girl. They discuss the possibility of secret places where an antidote might exist, though none are known for certain. Despite buying some time, they still don't have a real solution. Afterwards, Jin Hyuk mentions one last possible method. If this doesn't work, they will have no more options left. He then makes a call. The person on the other end is surprised to receive a call so late at night and asks why he is calling. Jin Hyuk gets straight to the point, asking if they have an antidote for basilisk venom. The person responds that he doesn't have the antidote but knows a backdoor doctor who might. When asked why he needs it, Jin Hyuk simply states that it's urgent. The person agrees to introduce him to the doctor and asks if he wants them to come discreetly. Since Jin Hyuk is considered a VIP, they promise to handle it carefully. Soon the doctor arrives as planned. Jin Hyuk assures everyone that the antidote is on its way, bringing relief and even tears of gratitude from her eyes. The doctor successfully removes the poison from Seo Sangho's body. However, he explains that it will take at least 2 weeks for his body to fully recover and regain movement. Until then, complete rest is necessary. Afterwards, Kang Jin Hyuk realizes that Seo Sangho's 2-week recovery period causes a major problem. During this time, he won't be able to withstand the Titan Guild's pursuit, even with Lucia's help. More importantly, after his recent battle with Kang Juntai, he has come to identify his own weakness. Moreover, he acknowledges that he underestimated the power of an S-rank hunter and overestimated his own abilities. Afterwards, Lucia points out that he seems burdened by unnecessary worries. Jin Hyuk admits that after facing an S-rank opponent, he understands just how weak he currently is. However, she assures him that although he is weak now, he has the potential to grow stronger. A risky method to gain strength is presented to him by Lucia, and Jin Hyuk declares that he is willing to do whatever it takes to become stronger. The next day, my guy is ready to make trip to the Dragon's Temple, gathering 50 explosion scrolls, 300 mana potions, and 300 health potions, and ensuring that his armor and weapon are ready. He also confirms that he has a return stone in case of emergencies, securing an escape route. Before leaving, he entrusts Seo Sangho and another ally to Lucia, asking her to take care of them in his absence. Moreover, Lucia warns him about the extreme dangers of the Dragon's Temple, reminding him that if he gets greedy or pushes too far, he could die. Jin Hyuk acknowledges the warning and promises to use the return stone if the situation becomes too dangerous. As he prepares to go, Secretary Lee apologizes and blames herself for the risks he is taking. Afterwards, Kang Jin Hyuk reassures Secretary Lee that there is no need to apologize, as he also seeks revenge. Moreover, he tells Lucia that she is the only one he can rely on while he is away and asks her to wait for his return. He is determined to come back stronger no matter what. Upon arriving at the Dragon's Temple, he recalls Lucia's warning not to get greedy and to leave once he feels strong enough. However, he dismisses the idea of playing it safe. His goal is clear. He refuses to leave until he is powerful enough to defeat an S-rank opponent. Kang Jin Hyuk keeps walking but doesn't see anything for a long time, making him wonder if he's on the right path. Suddenly the area lights up, revealing strange suits of armor. At first they look like decorations, but something about them feels off. Afterwards, he quickly realizes they are actually enemies. Instead of feeling scared, he sees this as the kind of challenge he was looking for. As the fight begins, he notices that the armored figures may look strong, but they aren't very powerful. Then, he figures out their weak point. He needs to destroy their cores. Afterwards, Kang Jin Hyuk isn't worried about the armored monsters. He has the perfect weapon to deal with them. He unleashes a powerful burst of electricity, targeting their cores all at once. He wonders how the metal creatures are handling the shock and how the electricity tastes. At the Titan Guild's office, Han Young-suk's expressions are filled with frustration and his blood boils because of Kang Juntai for messing up catching one drug-addicted fool and making things so complicated when they weren't meant to be. Turning to his assistant, he demands an update about what happened to the executives who supported Seo Sangho. So the assistant informs him that they have been confined to their homes and are being thoroughly monitored. The Titan Guild members have cut off all communication lines, like the internet and phones. Hearing that, Han Yun-sun gives a cold calculation order to keep watching them to make sure Seo Sangho doesn't escape in that direction. But before the conversation could continue, suddenly a loud burst can be heard. The door flies open. It is Kang Juntae, who angrily barges into the office. He demands an explanation on why he hasn't been warned about the unexpected obstacles. Han Young-suk doesn't understand this sudden rude outburst, as he did give Juntae information about that low-level hunter. Juntae angrily moves forward, revealing he is not talking about the guy, but the archer woman. Han Young-suk's assistant immediately moves to intervene, suggesting Juntae to step back from the executive, but without giving a damn. With a sharp, brutal punch, he sends the assistant to the corner of the floor, not even sparing him a glance. At that moment, the Bleachhead realizes that this dude is likely talking about the woman who has been traveling with our boy. He then hesitantly asks Juntae if he lost to her. The question hits like an insult, and Juntae immediately shrugs it off by calling it nonsense, and insists that if his spear hadn't broken, he would have won. Judging by his words, Young-suk understands she is a tough opponent, even for Juntae, and this is not even him complaining. She overpowered him and he felt humiliated, though he didn't expect her to be this strong. Not sure how to respond, he assures Juntae about preparing for her too, along with Kang Jin Hyuk. However, he reminds Juntae to finish Sangho as quickly as possible. Only then can they fully take control of the Titan Guild. They know he has already been poisoned, so he might be on the verge of death, or even if he survives, he won't be able to fight as he used to, so all they have to do is find him, and it is over. The only variables for them are Kang Jin-hyuk and Lucia, but this time the guild will make sure to kill them. Han Young-suk trusts Juntae to handle this. Once those two are dead, there will be no more obstacles. Everything will be taken care of, and then the position of Titan Guild leader will be Juntae's. At the same time, in the Dragon Temple, Kang Jin-hyuk took down all those armored things, and now is in the second room. Then, in a dull light, he spots a throne, and upon it, a figure is seated. Something is definitely off. Their karma level is at 0. The old man sitting on the throne is excited to see a new challenger after so long. Kang Jin-hyuk respectfully asks about him, and confronts the man that he knows this man is not someone ordinary. This makes the old man intrigued to know if this assumption is because he has 0 karma, which makes Jin-hyuk wonder how he knows it. But instead of simply answering the question, the old man questions Jin-hyuk's intentions of coming there and guesses if that cursed and resentful thing he carries isn't why he came all this way. Well, our boy is stunned that this bastard is talking as if he knows everything already. But when the old man steps forward to stand face to face, Jin-hyuk extends his hand, shows him a stone, and informs him that he came there to purify it. The old man recognizes that it is grown by devouring people. It carries a considerable amount of grudges, though he doesn't find it a difficult task. With a wave of his hand, the old man casts a spell, causing energy streams to come out of it, and in a minute he purifies it. Even the color of the stone changes, and that ominous aura seems to be gone too. Jin-hyuk's face makes it evident how impressed and surprised he is. Therefore he thanks him. The old man advises him to save this gratitude for when his true purpose here is complete. Jin-hyuk doesn't seem to understand, and when he looks into the old man's eyes, it seems like he has been transported to somewhere else, while the old man informs him that the trial has already begun. He warns him to not let his guard down and give it his all, otherwise he will lose his life. Jin-hyuk is then transported to a dark place, realizing this is the true trial of the Dragon's Temple. He senses someone approaching him, as footsteps can be heard. The same armored figure from before appeared, but something is different. His surroundings glow, and he wonders if he has been transported to a new space. Out of curiosity, he questions the armored man. Is this his opponent? Would there be more to come? Was this merely a warm-up and the real one will show up later? The armored guy doesn't show a single interest in Jin-hyuk's speculations, and to Jin-hyuk's surprise, he suggests Kang Jin-hyuk to prepare himself, informing him the trial has begun. Jin-hyuk realizes this armored man is different from others as he can talk, but the armored man moves swiftly towards him, reminding him this is his only warning. The scene shifts to our boy's neighborhood. A number of guys are moving from roof to roof with a blinding speed in futuristic black masks and hoods. One of the hooded guys apologizes to his companions for not being able to find the house of Kang Jin-hyuk from any side, though they definitely searched the address. But there was nothing there. The other hooded guy is tense, as if they don't find that guy, they are all finished. Kang Jung-ae won't spare them, so they have to find that guy no matter what it takes. He instructs them to destroy every single house visible in this area. That way, they will probably stumble upon Kang Jin-hyuk's house maybe. Before they could work according to the plan, one of the hooded guys collapsed on the ground, blood coating the entire surface. The other two guys take time to realize what has happened, but they barely have any time to run for their lives or call for backup, and eventually they also get attacked by none other than Lucia. With the danger eliminated for the time being, she gets back home. Secretary Lee Hyena questions Lucia if everything is okay out there, as she suddenly went out. Lucia calmly informs Lee Hyena that the Titan Guild's tracking team came by. This freaks her out, and tension fills across her face, but Lucia assures her not to worry since she took care of them pretty quietly. After overhearing the enemy's plan to destroy the entire neighborhood just to find this place, they must be convinced of it by now that this is the only place both the Titan Guild's master and his secretary could possibly be. In advance, Lucia apologizes to Heina. If they come in full force, she won't be able to stop them alone, and urges Heina to hope Kang Jin-hyuk gets stronger and comes back soon. At this moment, he is the only one who can change their situation. On the other hand, Kang Jin-hyuk is struggling as the armored man launches forward. The boys stand there, frozen in shock, though the armored man slices his throat. Panic is evident on Kang Jin-hyuk's face as he grabs his neck, thinking it has been sliced, but he is transported to the same temple from before, without being harmed a little. He examines his neck in shock, but a laughter pulls his attention. It is the same old man who explains the place where he died is a sort of virtual space, so even if he dies there, he won't die for real. That is why he doesn't have to worry. Kang Jin-hyuk tries to focus. He recognizes that voice, and as he turns, he sees the door being closed but confirms his suspicion that it is the same old man as before. The old man reveals that Jin Hyun is still very weak. The Dragon Temple is a place to make him strong, but it is also a place of trial. He had warned Jin Hyuk before to never let his guard down. Strength wasn't just about power, it was about resilience, so he should grow stronger and try again. Although Jin Hyuk is not in the mood to be lectured, as this time isn't for such casual advice. If their hideout gets discovered now, Seo Sangho and Lee Hyana will be killed, and if Juntae shows up, he won't be able to defeat him, so he needs to get stronger now. But there is a barrier between the old man and him because of the closed door. He begs him to open the door and accepts his mistake but assures him to not let his guard down again. He explains if he doesn't get stronger immediately, it is all meaningless. The old man knows. Him rushing back in, he'd only experience death again. However, Jim Hyuk is firm. He will only know if he tries, so he keeps insisting on him. The old man finds him pretty desperate even after experiencing the sensation of death. He is not giving up, but Jin Hyuk tells him if he was afraid of dying, he wouldn't have started this in the first place. The old man finds his spirit amusing, so he grants him an exception to re-challenge the trial. Pressing forward, he is transported to virtual space again. The armored guy praises him for coming back even after experiencing death. Jin Hyuk reveals that he was careless before, but this time it won't end as hollowly as it did earlier. The armored guy laughs and then jumps high to attack him with his giant weapon, though this time Jin Hyuk blocks it with his enchanted bat, but this guy has phenomenal skill. Just holding on is overwhelming. The armored guy realizes that his opponent has come to his senses this time. While Jin Hyuk struggles to hold on, he needs to focus the aura in his legs. Somehow he needs to knock it away and create distance. Summoning his aura, he focused it into his legs. If he could create an opening, even for a second, he might stand a chance. Using every ounce of his strength, he pushed the armored warrior back. The force of the recoil nearly knocked him off balance, but he managed to stay upright. A direct confrontation wouldn't work. He had to strike and retreat, searching for the perfect opportunity. Jin Hyuk lunges forward, leaping higher into the air to attack the guy, which impresses him as he handles the aura. But he only has aura in his lower body, leaving his upper body exposed, so the armored guy deflects the attack. It is like he knows or can read his thoughts. The armored guy huffs, also acknowledges Jin's spirit, but if this was all he had then, there is no need to prolong the fight and Jin Hyuk should just die. The armored guy then attacks Jin Hyuk again, but to his surprise, he blocks it, which the armored guy wasn't expecting. Jin Hyuk clarifies to him that he won't die this easily. He wasn't sure earlier, so he tested it out, and as expected. The armored guy predicts where to attack by observing the aura. Hearing this, the armor guy laughs, calling him talented but assuring him of not changing the outcome no matter what happens. As much as it pains Jin Hyuk, deep down he knows the armored guy is right. If he keeps using his aura like this, he will only use the opponent's tricks again. In that case, he needs to fight differently. He opens the inventory, drinks a mana potion, and decides to surround his entire body with aura so the opponent can't predict his moves. Before he could finish the whole potion, the opponent attacks him again, but because of his present-mindedness, in time, Jin Hyuk is able to dodge the attack. The armored guy has noticed him enveloping his whole body in aura, questioning if it was that drug from earlier that boosted his aura and mocks him for obtaining power from such a substance, which can never be called his. Jin Hyuk doesn't care whose power it is, as long as it helps him win. Wielding the enchanted bat, he moves swiftly, dodging attacks and counterattacking with force. The armored guy launches heavy attacks from all directions. Despite that, Jin Hyuk isn't giving up. The armored guy is now finding him somewhat formidable, though Jin Hyuk guarantees that he is more than that. Both of them struggle for dominance. Sparks and shockwaves burst when their weapons collide, and the fight is pushing both sides to their limits. The armored guy praises Jin Hyuk for holding out well, but that is exactly when Jin jumps unexpectedly, warning the armored guy that it might sting a bit and attacking his opponent. Meanwhile, Hyung-il and Lee Jun-chul are driving past Jin Hyuk's residential area and notice a number of guys from the Titan Guild desperately searching for Seo Sangho right now. Hyung-il suggests drawing attention would only cause trouble, though Lee Jun-chul advises him to not act recklessly and arouse suspicion. He then asks him to wait a moment and just watch, as he has got a plan. Unexpectedly, he pulls out his phone and calls Seo Sangho's secretary, Lee Hyana, to ask if she has heard anything about him from Hunter Jin Hyuk. She recalls he is the one who introduced our boy to the doctor. Jun-chul then inquires about Sangho, so she reassures him that Sangho is receiving good treatment and is safe. Staying calm, he informs her that he is near our boy's home right now and notices that Titan Guild members are swarming the area, which means that the guild master is there. If this keeps up by the time guild leader Sangho recovers, they will have to face a Titan Guild blockade right outside his house. To resolve the issue, Jun-chul suggests meeting in person to discuss a solution. Back at the Dragon's Temple, the armored guy is shockingly perfectly fine even after taking that powerful, mind-blowing hit. The opponent mocks him for standing there dumbfounded and provokes him to bring it out now if there is anything left. Jin Hyuk doesn't believe that even lightning didn't work, so he admits that he has nothing else hidden, so they should gamble everything on this fight to death. The opponent assures him about playing along and giving him a proper massive strike. He then exudes an aura of power. Meanwhile, Jin Hyuk grips his bat tightly, though he notices divine energy radiating from his opponent and mockingly calls him a paladin. The armored guy proudly reveals he is not a paladin, but something close to that, and then confirms to Jin Hyuk if he is ready. Jin Hyuk stands there unfazed, being ready for a while. As the guy lunges forward, Jin Hyuk knows fancy tricks won't work. What he needs now is a full-force strike. Jin Hyuk uses every inch of aura in his body and blocks the divine energy's attack. He is aware that if he falls back, it is over. The armored man understands. This is different from before. Jin is focusing all the aura into one point to amplify its power, truly betting everything on this one strike. But the opponent tries pushing him while attacking, which makes him stumble, even as his aura scatters. Though the armored guy promises him, he won't be able to defeat him just with that. The battle has finally reached its peak. The armored guy lunges forward, their weapons clash. Jin Hyuk is struggling with the overwhelming force pressing down on him, but despite his determination to not give up, he is pushed back on the ground. He presses his bat onto the ground to steady himself, his body trembling with exhaustion. He managed to block it, but the aura has been used up, and he doesn't even have the energy to move his body. The armored guy questions whether this is truly the limit of his power. Holding up his weapon, he points out, in the end, all Jin Hyuk has done is break this iron sword. A broken iron sword can easily be replaced with an aura blade, but Jin looks completely drained, so how will he face the armored guy? He warns him that if he has no tricks left, his challenge ends here. Jin Hyuk pants heavily as he tells the armored man that he talks too much and provokes him to kill him already as he gave it his all, so he has no regrets. Though he assures him, even if he dies here, he won't actually die, so he will keep challenging again and again to become stronger. The armored guy reveals the real trial is over, but informs him about the misunderstanding. Nobody said this trial was about defeating the armored guy. He is the examiner and the judge. The true trial is whether or not he can earn the armored guy's approval. Jin Hyuk's eyes shine with hope that maybe he will be passed, and fortunately the guy actually passes him, mentioning he still has a lot to improve. In an instant, the armored guy is transformed into the same old guy sitting on the throne. It was him fighting with him all this time. The old man praises his remarkable potential, but advises him to fix his personality, as recklessness and confidence are not the same thing. Still, he was impressed by how Jin Hyuk gave it his all until the very end. When Jin Hyuk realizes it is the same old guy, he interrupts, but the old man pokes his head out and signals him to stay quiet. As he wished to know how to grow stronger, so the old man explains, his aura is power rooted in divine energy, which makes the method simple. He must connect with the divine, so the old man puts his hand on his head, revealing he has taken a liking to him, so he should use the gift he is about to bestow upon him wisely. Before Jin Hyuk could comprehend, he was transported somewhere unfamiliar. Panic is visible on his face when he notices a giant dragon, but the dragon assures him not to be scared as he was brought here to be granted power by the one who has acknowledged him. Challenger who passed the trial, from this moment forth, he will be imbued with the power of the divine. Suddenly, energy streams move towards Jin Hyuk. Therefore, the dragon insists he accept it. This is the grave of a god who looks favorably upon him. Confusion and fear spread across his face, but it doesn't hide the fact that from now on, the divine power will be with Jin Hyuk. Lee Jun-chul has arrived at Jin Hyuk's house. Lucia sits there anxiously, waiting for Jin Hyuk. He is late. Worried expressions fill her face, mind racing with questions. Has something gone wrong? Just as negative thoughts take over her mind, she suddenly senses a strange shift in the air. Turning quickly, she opens the gate. The gate to the dungeon is appearing. It means Jin Hyuk has succeeded. She examines the gate and is shocked to sense a powerful aura coming from beyond the gate. Finally, footsteps can be heard, and Jin Hyuk enters the game. Lucia stands there stunned. The realization hit her. Is this power coming from him? It couldn't be. How is this even possible? She is in utter disbelief but unaware of her shock. Jin Hyuk asks her the reason behind being so shocked. She hesitates, but her mind screams tons of questions. What happened there? Has he truly passed all the trials of the Dragon's Temple? Did he really face them all and survive? When Jin Hyuk doesn't answer, she angrily takes out her weapon to attack him, calling him a reckless idiot. Did he not understand what he had done? What if something had gone wrong? She warned him not to be greedy and to back out in time, but before her attack could land, Jin Hyuk blocked it with divine energy, claiming he had no choice if he wanted to get stronger. If he hadn't done it, he wouldn't have gained this power. Lucia clenches her fists, realizing he never listens. Well, he has certainly gotten stronger, but still, she advises him to be cautious because if something happens to him, she won't be able to go home either. Though Jin Hyuk assures her not to worry as nothing like that will happen anymore. In that case, she decides to leave this place to him now. Confusingly, Jin Hyuk asks if she is heading back to the dungeon, so she informs him she needs to get some rest too. And even he looks like he is more than capable of handling things in here now. As Lucia turns to leave, Jin Hyuk shows his gratitude, but Lucia tells him not to mention it because more than she did it for him, she did it for herself. She didn't want the dungeon to get messed up if he died. Also, she reminds him that nothing in life is free. The boss room with the magic circle still needs attention, and she will be staying there for a while, so he should bring her a bunch of sweets as payment. She has one more thing to say. Once she goes back into the dungeon, the magic that suppresses perception will soon wear off. When that happens, the Titan Guild will find this place and come after it. Before they find out, he could come up with a plan. Then she leaves into the shadows of the dungeon. He then enters the lounge and greets the secretary. While Lee Jun-chul is shocked by seeing our boy there, Secretary's face brightens up with happiness after seeing him. Jin Hyuk then confirms if everything was alright while he was gone, so Hyena updates him. Sangho is recovering well, and they have handled the pursuers. That's a small relief, but there's something else Jin Hyuk wants to know. Why is Lee Jun-chul here? Jun-chul explains he couldn't reach him, so he took the liberty of coming to see him personally. Jin Hyuk narrows his eyes, knowing this guy never appears out of nowhere, so something is definitely up. Without hesitating a bit, Jun-chul proposes something unexpected. He would like to create a guild with Jin Hyuk. Before he could reply, Lee Hee-na interrupts as he wasn't going to propose a way to get them out of here. Jun-chul advised them to calm down and hear him out. He realistically speaks. Even if Seo Sang-ho recovers, he can't go back to the Titan Guild. The fact that no one has come to rescue him is proof of that. He knows that the group has already rotted through, and something that is already rotten can't be fixed, so they need a new foundation, and he intends to build a new framework with Lee Hai-na and its core, Kang Jin Hyuk. He slides up his phone, requesting them to look at the material he has prepared first, the resources he can handle personally for building a guild, the physical resources available, the talented individuals he has scouted, and the facilities they can use. Lee Hai-na is pretty impressed by his preparation, but even with a guild of this scale, they can't fight the Titan Guild. Even with all of this, can they really go against the Titan Guild? And more importantly, how will they handle Kang Jun-tae? Jun-chul has prepared a countermeasure for that too, but for that he needs one guarantee: if Jin Hyuk can defeat Kang Jun-tae. Jin Hyuk asks why him, but not Seo Sang-ho. But Jun-chul is aware it will take time for him to recover enough to fight properly, and by the time that happens, they will have already missed their chance. He heard our boy fought Kang Jun-tae and survived. If that is true, then his plan can work to resolve the current situation. If that rumor is false, then they will pretend this conversation never happened. As long as our boy is strong enough to fight Kang Jun-tae, the plan is viable. If that's the case, Jun-chul is willing to stake everything on our boy. This causes our boy to smirk as he wants to hear the plan first because his answer will depend on it. As he has been asked to share his plan, on the other hand, Tyrant Guild leader Jo Wan-chul is beating the men of the Titan Guild, demanding to know where they are barging in without fear. Recently, with public sentiment against them due to the Alraun incident, he thought they'd lie low for a while, but during that time, Titans have been targeting Tyrant Guild's territory, so if they want to pick a fight, Wo-chul will rip all of them to shreds, every last one of them. Back at Jin Hyuk's house, Jun-chul's plan is to draw the Tyrant Guild into this. It is about fighting fire with fire. The Tyrant Guild is a massive force comparable to Titan, with Ju Wan-chul, an S-class hunter, as its leader. They'd be able to go toe-to-toe with Titan, but Lee Hee-na reminds them that the guild is already in chaos after the Alraun incident. Would they really be willing to go to war in this state? However, Jun-chul confidently responds that making them fight is easier than she thinks. Recently, Titan has been expanding its territory. Most of that territory originally belonged to the Tyrant Guild. Of course, other guilds targeted it too, but Titan has gone overboard, so if they just give them a reason, the Tyrant Guild would strike Titan immediately. Lee Hai-na and our boy exchange glances, thinking to release their trump card. Meanwhile, Jun-chul is confused as he has no idea what is going on, so our boy brings up the Alraun incident with the Tyrant Guild. They are the ones who leaked the dark secrets. The dots finally connect, and now Jun-chul understands why Titan moved as if they already knew everything. Therefore, it is a strong enough excuse. Once the Tyrant Guild hears this, they will go after Titan right away. Then, as a third party, Jun-chul, Jin Hyuk, and Lee Hai-na will take advantage of the chaos between the two guilds to take out Titan's top brass, Han Young-suk and Kang Jun-tae. That is the plan Jun-chul has devised. A smirk spreads across Jin Hyuk's face because he is definitely handling it for Jun Chul. It also means starting a new guild is confirmed. Drawing from mythology, Jin Hyuk decided to name it after the temple of the gods who overthrew the titans named Pantheon. Both Jun Chul and Lee Hyana like the name as the meaning fits well. Now they have to get going. There is no point in delaying anything. Jun Chul requests Secretary Lee to leak the information to Tyrant, and while she is at it, she needs to see if there is anyone in Titan who might defect to their side. Jun Chul himself decides to prepare the supplies they need, but there is something specific he needs Kang Jin Hyuk to handle. Guild leader Seo Sangho can't make any moves for the time being, even though the pursuit will likely stop once the two guilds clash. Is there any way to completely divert their attention for now? If that is the case, Jin Hyuk might have an idea. At the same time, at the residential area of Jin Hyuk, Titan Guild's men have located Lee Hina and Jin Hyuk. According to them, they are feeling towards Sector D. Meanwhile, Doyun stands on a rooftop, overlooking the situation. Jin Hyuk acknowledges his efforts, thanking him for buying them some time. Doyun, happy that he could help, brings up something Jin Hyuk mentioned earlier, the possibility of a rebellion within the Titan Guild. Curious, he asks for more details about it, so Jin Hyuk explains Han Young-sok tried to oust Seo Sangho, so that is why guild leader Seo is here. He asked for help, and Jin Hyuk granted it, which is why Titan's goons are frantically hunting them down. He informs Doyun that he even almost got killed by Kang Juntae, which freaks Doyun out, but Jin Hyuk assures him he can handle him now. But the actual reason Jin Hyuk called Doyun here is to ask if he's willing to join the new guild they are forming. At the Tyrant Guild's Branch 3, Jo Wan-chul receives the news that Titan Guild has not only killed Alron, but has also leaked the incident to the media. Jo Wan-chul's assistant reveals Seo Sangho's secretary personally passed on the information. She even said she doesn't care anymore since he is leaving the guild anyway and just wants money. The report states that night, Titan infiltrated to steal the artifact. But when Alron died, they covered it up by leaking the story to the press. Hearing this, Jo Wan-chul's body trembles in anger, and he clenches his fists and grits his teeth. Jo Wan-chul won't just stand by and let things go their way. He orders his assistant to gather everyone who can be summoned right now, since it has come to this. The Tyrant Guild will be the one to strike first now, and from this moment on, the Tyrant Guild has officially declared war on the Titan Guild. At the Titan Guild's office, one of the goons bursts through the gate, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling, the tension evident on his face. He informs Juntae and Han Young-suk about the Tyrant Guild, which has just invaded their territory. Young-suk wonders if they are trying to take revenge for losing their own area. The goon adds that it is not it. The guildmaster, Jo Wan-chul, has personally led that attack, and on top of that, he has officially declared war against the Titans. Hearing this, Young-suk stands up in shock, his jaw dropping as his eyes widen in disbelief. He panics, demanding why he wasn't informed earlier. Without wasting a second, he urgently asks where Wan-chul is, so the goon quickly informs him that their men have already been sent to stop him. At the same time, Wan-chul is furious. He has been causing harm to all the men that come near him. To everybody's surprise, just with his bare hands he threw a bus, which scared the goon, and they stepped back. They try to surround him, but before they can react, he vanishes. In the blink of an eye, he reappears far away, his speed beyond their belief. All the men keep losing. The squad that is being sent is not returning, and it turns out they are all dead, making it hard to track Jo Wan-chul's movements. In the office, Young-suk is freaking out, but Juntae smirks. He knew something was off as it was way too quiet, and there was no way Jo Wan-chul would just take a beating without a fight. Seeing this behavior of Juntae, Young-suk angrily questions whether this is funny, frustrated because at this rate both of them end up dying. He suggests reporting this to the association and having them stop it. The goon hesitantly informs him that the association is already aware of the situation, but all they have done is broadcast a warning, so it seems like they have no intention of stepping in further. Juntae already knows they would never bother to stop a fight. This is a perfect chance for them to let the unruly big guilds weaken each other. Listening to all of this, Young-suk orders him to change the approach and request intervention from the association, saying that civilians could get hurt. The goon narrows his face, apologizing and revealing that it won't work either. At the residential area of District 9, announcements are being made about the battle between the Titan and Tyrant Guild. Residents in the surrounding areas are advised to evacuate to a safe location. The guild members are not caring about any civilians, as they just want to fight. Knowing the situation is extremely serious, Jin Hyuk arrives at the site. Witnessing a small child crying as her mother is stuck in a car injured, she is about to be attacked, but Jin Hyuk saves her. Jin Hyuk suggests Lee Hai-na evacuate these people to a safe place and inform all guild members that protecting civilians is the top priority. The news has been broadcast about the guild Pantheon's first mission, which is to protect civilians at all costs. When the news about the new guild is heard, Yeon-suk wonders whose guild this is, as he never heard of that before. Juntae assumes some unknown guild is trying to use this chance to make a name for themselves, as there are plenty of mid-tier guilds that would jump at the chance. But more importantly, they need to deal with the tyrants. But suddenly Yeon-suk asks him to wait, claiming, the ones protecting the civilians, they seem connected to Seo Sangho or Jin Hyuk. Juntae doesn't take it seriously, though something about the name Pantheon bothers Yeon-suk, because he is aware that in Greek mythology, the Pantheon was the temple of the deities who overthrew the Titans, so it seems like they chose the name to target them. Now this makes sense to Juntae, since appearing at this moment is also suspicious. The tyrants' declaration of war and their sudden attack, the timing and everything, are too perfect. Therefore they have realized that Seo Sangho or Jin Hyuk must have been backing Tyrant from the shadows. Instantly, he gets a call. One of his men informs him of the path movement of Jo Won-chul. Judging by his current trajectory, he seems to be heading straight for their guild headquarters. Yeon-suk's expression darkens. He informs Juntae about this news. Since it has come to this, they decide to settle things once and for all, and he confirms with Juntae whether he can take down Won-chul. Juntae's eyes are filled with rage and something that cannot be explained, but he guarantees Yeon-suk that Won-chul is walking right into his own grave, and this place will be his tomb. As the battle of Tyrant and Titan Guild continues, the members of the Tyrant Guild realize that the members of the Titan Guild are pretty weak, but there are just too many of them. The Titan Guild members play their dirty game by casting fire spells, which creates panic among the civilians, though Jun-chul assures that his hunters will protect them, and they should take this chance and evacuate over here. Once they arrive, they should be safe. If they ever find themselves caught in a guild war today, his guild will always be there to help, so he requests them to remember the guild that stands for the people, Pantheon. All the civilians look at him confusingly, because even in the extremely serious state, this guy is promoting the guild. At the same time, Hyung-il informs Jun-chul an association officer has arrived. The association officer confirms from Jun-chul if he is the same guy who helped evacuate the civilians and expresses his gratitude. They avoided a major disaster, though he assures them to take it from here. However, the officer is shocked to witness a guild that actually cares about the civilians and asks the name of the guild. Jun-chul feels honored that the association thinks that way and reveals that they are a newly formed guild called Pantheon. Jun-chul knows, firstly, the association showed up late and now tries to smooth things over with empty words. Still, they somewhat achieved their goal to give the guild a good public image among civilians, and now, even the association sees them in a positive light. Jun-chul and Hyung-il have done their part. The rest is up to Guildmaster Kang Jin-hyuk. Afterward, Hyung-il, Jun-chul, and Lee Hye-na meets Jin-hyuk, he explains. Since this is a war between two guilds, the scale will be massive, and because they are fighting the city, civilians will definitely get caught up in it. So for now, Pantheon Guild's first priority is to protect civilians and establish a positive image for themselves. Jun-chul promises. As he said, they are doing their best to protect the civilians, but fundamentally, they need a way to end the war itself. That being said, Jin-hyuk assures him not to worry about that part, and calls his Doyun for the update on Jo Won-chul's movements. As expected, Jo Won-chul is heading straight for the Titan Guild, so Jin-hyuk decides to get going. Out of curiosity, the women then questions about the need to track Won-chul's movements. In response, our boy elaborates if that piece of work and Kang Juntae fight in the city, the damage will be unbelievable, and one of them will definitely die. My guy intends to take the both of them down at once. Hyena stuns, her mind raced with questions. Is he serious right now? She knows he has got stronger, but taking on two S-hunters alone is hard. Jin-hyuk then takes his leave and reminds his guild members to focus on keeping the civilians safe. Hyena knows right now they just need to trust him, do their part, and hope for him to come back safely. At the Titan's base, Won-chul studies building. Meanwhile, the goons notice him and try contacting the control room immediately. As they are informed that Jo Won-chul has appeared at the main gate and request for urgent backup, they are both sent crashing to the ground as Won-chul forcefully pushes them. He tells them he has no interest in dealing with small fries and gives them an opportunity to live if they call their guildmaster right now. The guy quickly informs the control room to contact the guildmaster, but also ends up getting beaten by Won-chul. Receiving this news, Yeon-suk understands Won-chul has actually stormed all the way here. Though Juntae never thought he'd walk right into his own death and guarantees to bring the head of the tyrant guildmaster to Yeon-suk as a gift. The news is going countrywide about the war that has erupted between the major guilds in the middle of the city. To prevent civilian casualties, the police and the Hunter Association have issued a regional lockdown, restricting traffic and sealing off the battle zones. Additionally, the Hunter Association is operating shelters for residents in the affected areas. If someone is in designated areas, they should evacuate immediately according to the association's guidance. At the same time, Wan Chul has been knocking out the small fries, announcing Titan has already fallen, and these weaklings are supposed to be the elite forces guarding the main base. The guards decided to retreat for now as they can't hold out against an S-rank hunter, but one of the guards orders them to hold the line no matter what until the new guildmaster arrives. After a few minutes, all the guys collapsed on the ground. Wan Chul huffs, wondering if Seo Sangho has changed a lot. His subordinates are dying left and right, and he hasn't shown his face. He screams to call Seo Sangho, but surprisingly, Juntae rushes towards him, demanding to know who gave him the permission to run wild. Seeing him, Wan Chul is stunned and asks what he is doing here. Therefore, Juntae reveals he is the new guildmaster now, and that is exactly when he pushes him. This revelation is confusing for Wan Chul, so he asks about Sangho. Without giving a direct answer, Juntae smirks and suggests asking this to Sangho on his own when he meets him in the afterlife. Wan Chul replies reluctantly, Jugay is the one who will be heading to the afterlife today. Provoked, Juntae laughs maniacally, mocking him for bluffing as they both charge forward to clash. When Yeon Suk comes out of the building, he is shocked to witness all his guild members lying lifeless on the ground, proposing to call clerics to heal them, but they have all been deployed to other battles, so it is difficult right now. Every branch is engaged in war, so there was no other choice. Not just the clerics, every last remaining soldier in the main base was also deployed. Yeon Suk tries to connect the dots. Now that the troops have been spread out in the various branches, Wan Chul has attacked alone. The timing is too perfect. Wan Chul planned this from the start. The war was actually just a distraction. His real goal was to storm the main base alone and end everything. Normally, such a reckless plan wouldn't even be possible, but an S-rank's power makes the impossible a reality. In the end, the winner of this war will be decided by the battle between Juntae and Wan Chul, the class of 2 S-ranks. At the dungeon, inside the boss room, Lucia tries to understand stuff she has been analyzing for days. If she can just decipher this magic circle, she should be able to return to her original dimension. Though realization hits her, once she won't be in this place, she won't get to eat snacks anymore. However, her thoughts quickly shift to Jin Hyuk, who has been gone for quite some time. She wonders if he's okay but reassures herself that he's probably fine. After all, that guy Jin Hyuk is now probably stronger than those so-called S-rank hunters. The battle is pretty intense. An intense blue aura launches a devastating energy attack by Wan Chul. Juntae unleashes a force to block that forceful attack that surges forward at incredible speed. Both of them struggle for dominance. Juntae soars through the air with their weapon to slice Wan Chul's head in half. A shimmering protective shield is already created by a spell to protect himself. To break the barrier, Juntae hits the weapon on the ground, causing a massive explosion and debris flying in all directions. Far away, Jin Hyuk approaches the battlefield. When Jin Hyuk arrives at the location, he is saddened to see them fighting without a single thought for the city or its people. The city is being torn apart, not by monsters or some great terrorists, but by the selfish actions of hunters who definitely have long forgotten their duty. They say an S-rank's power is like a natural disaster. Seeing all the destruction, Jin Hyuk finally understands what that really means. In the past, he wouldn't have even dared to step in. These warriors are powerful, unable to defend, but now it is different. Right now, with the power of divine energy being with him, he can take both of them down. Meanwhile, Juntae and Wan Chul's fight continues. As they both clash their weapons, they hear a voice ordering them to stay right there, nice and close. Before they could react, Jin Hyuk attacks them both, which makes them stumble backward. Wan Chul stands at the corner, his gaze darting towards the newcomer, wondering who this guy is, while Jin Hyuk mockingly greets Juntae. Juntae recalls he is the same guy who got beaten up and ran away. Still, Wan Chul is studying Jin Hyuk and this energy that is coming out from him. The energy radiating from him is unlike anything he had encountered before. It is hard for him to figure out if he is an A rank or S rank. He questions himself if there are hunters like these in Korea. Whereas, when Jin's gaze shifts towards Wan Chul, he recognizes him. The same scumbag who sacrificed countless women to Alraun. Rather than attacking them, Jin Hyuk calmly addresses them, his voice steady despite the chaos around them, and asks them to confirm if they really are hunters. He gestures around at the devastation, pointing out how this city is in ruins. Innocent people are caught in this war, suffering, getting hurt. After seeing all that, he urges them to think. Don't they feel even a little guilty? Rather than being ashamed, Juntae shamelessly smirks. Guilt? Why would he feel guilty? He confesses he wouldn't care about those pathetic insects. When he doesn't watch out for bugs while walking, who cares if a few worthless civilians die? Juntae mocks him for being another naive puppy. However, he thought Seo Sangho was the only self-righteous hypocrite. After listening to everything, Jin Hyuk acknowledges they are definitely worse than animals. Even animals must have a little sympathy, and thanks them for making this easier. Now he can kill them without hesitation. Jin Hyuk tightens his grip on his bat, energy streams radiating from it, and points out Juntae for making things pretty clear for him. Not taking him seriously, Juntae pretends to hear that wrong because he is firm about killing both Jin Hyuk and Won Chul. He tells Jo Won Chul to wait for a bit as he needs to deal with this arrogant guy first. Won Chul thinks smartly, acting casual, admitting it will be entertaining for him. But deep down, he knows if these two fight and wear each other out, it will end up being a win-win situation for him. Jin Hyuk turns to Won Chul, giving him an option to join because he doesn't mind taking both of them down at once. Seeing him acting so cocky, Juntae couldn't hold back and with breakneck speed rushed towards Jin Hyuk, his weapon pointed at Jin. Jin Hyuk doesn't even move from his position and just stretches out his bat, blocking his whole body easily. Beads of sweat roll down his head because he wasn't expecting him to block the attacks now when he couldn't even defend against one before. Jin Hyuk is eager to know the cause of his stunned expressions, as he hasn't even started yet. With a swift flick of his enchanted bat infused with divine energy, Juntae is pushed back. Won Chul's eyes widen since he never imagined Juntae getting pushed back like this with such intensity. Taking Juntae's shock as an opportunity, Jin Hyuk quickly moves forward to hit him, but he deflects the attack quickly by tilting his head a bit. Juntae's anger doubles because Jin Hyuk dared to put a scratch on his face, so he gathers his strength to counterattack. He is not sure what Jin has done, but it is evident that he has definitely gotten stronger. He admits that it is a shame, sparing him back then. Jin Hyuk laughs as, seeing how strong he is, regret washes over Juntae's face. Instead of admitting it, Juntae arrogantly huffs, claiming either way, Jin Hyuk is going to die by his hand. Jin assures him things won't go the way he wants. That day, when he barely escaped from here, he made a promise that he'd get stronger and kill him, the one who humiliated him, the one who feels he is superior. Juntae stands there knowing damn well this is troublesome. He never expected Jin Hyuk to get this strong. Questions arise in his mind. How did he get this strong? Did he use some tricks? Then something pops up in his mind that maybe he took the Alraun's elixir, so he confronted. Before Jin could answer, Won Chul demanded to know the reason behind Alraun's elixir being mentioned here, so Juntae shared with Won that Jin Hyuk is the guy who killed the Alraun and took the elixir. Won Chul's jaw drops, and he questions Jin Hyuk if he really is the one who took the elixir and killed the Alraun. Jin Hyuk smirks and without a word, pulls out a bottle containing the elixir, holding it up, questioning if this is the same elixir they are talking about. The moment Won Chul notices the elixir, his face turns crimson red. It triggers something inside him, and he eventually runs to attack him. When Jin Hyuk dodges the attack, his anger doubles, so he tries attacking him again with a forceful punch, but ends up punching the ground, because with a blink of an eye, Jin Hyuk disappears from the front. He again dodges the attack by leaping even from being trapped by his whole body. Jin Hyuk is well aware that if that last attack had hit, it could have been very dangerous, so he takes a sigh of relief. Although his attention shifts towards the sky when he spots a drone flying. An announcement is being made from the drone. It is a live stream to broadcast the battle between two S-rank hunters using a drone. The battlefield has turned into a complete war zone, with every building destroyed. They reveal as the battle continues, a new hunter has entered the scene. They mean Jin Hyuk. Though they haven't identified the whereabouts and information of the newcomer, he is holding his ground against the two S-ranks. In another environment, Secretary Lee Hai-na takes a sigh of relief as everything is going according to the plan. It looks like the media has arrived safely at the scene. With this, the stage is set exactly how they wanted. Juntae can't believe his eyes as he watches our boy effortlessly dodging the attacks of the Tyrant's guildmaster. Not just that, his counterattacks are even more powerful, and he is landing every single one of them. He starts to wonder what he did to get this strong. Meanwhile, Won Chul is getting his ass kicked by a teenager. After getting thrown to the ground, he gets up and asks him if he is really going easy on him. This makes him even furious as he thinks that the kid is looking down on him. He screams, asking Juntae to stay out of the fight since it's going to be him who takes our boy down. With all his strength, he charges forward and mentions that things are going to be different from now on. However, this seems to be all cope as he continues getting destroyed, still can't land a single hit. Jin Hyuk pushes him back with his bare fists and says that things look the same to him. Without giving him any break, he steps forward and hits him with his bat, and the guy barely manages to block it. At the same time, Juntae appears from behind, trying to catch our boy with a sneak attack. Unfortunately for him, Jin Hyuk is several levels ahead of him, so he simply blocks using his bat without even looking at him. The impact is so strong that it literally shatters his spear into pieces. He starts to panic as he watches the MC coming at him and falls down with just the shockwave of his bat swings. Not seeing any other way out of this, Won Chul suggests teaming up even though they were just fighting each other minutes earlier. The guy suggests making an alliance until they defeat Jin Hyuk. Juntae still doesn't seem to trust him, so he threatens to kill him if he backstabs him during their alliance. Wancheol shouts at him to fall into position, as they both might have a chance against our boy if they combine their strengths. Meanwhile, the news reporter mentions that the identities of the two S-rank hunters fighting in the war have been revealed. However, they still don't know anything about the hunter who just joined their fight. Moreover, they haven't heard anything from the guildmaster of the Titan Guild. Just as the reporter mentions this, we see Sangho slowly opening his eyes in his room. Immediately after waking up, the first thing he does is to get dressed. Bro cares more about his guild's aura than his own health. After getting ready, he looks for Hyena and wonders where she is. Meanwhile, she gets a call while she is on her way to the battle zone. She is shocked to hear that he is finally awake and puts him on speed on everything that's going on. Sangho asks her where she is, and she tells him that she is headed to the war zone, explaining that Jinhyuk formed a new guild and she is now a part of it. All of this is too much for the guildmaster to handle, so he decides to contact Jinhyuk directly and ask him about it. However, Hyena tells him that it's not possible since the MC is literally fighting two S-rank hunters as they speak. Hearing this, Sangho gets up from his seat, knowing that the kid can't fight two S-ranks no matter how strong he is. He asks her for the location and says that he is going there himself. Hyena is a bit hesitant as she is worried about his health, but he tells her that it all happened because of him. As the guildmaster, he can't just sit back and relax while they continue to fight. She finally agrees and sends him the location of the fight. Even though she is worried about his health, she knows that she has to trust his decision, since he is the only one who might be able to stop it. Hyena thinks to herself that this isn't the time to hesitate, and she needs to do what's required of her. Meanwhile, Juntae is trying his best to land a single hit on our boy, but he gets brutally outclassed. Jinhyuk is reading him like a book and blocking all of his attacks without any effort. As the fight gets intense, the shockwaves from their attacks start traveling even further. While the MC seems distracted with Juntae, the other S-rank charges at him from behind, trying to finish the job. However, our boy is just too smart for them, so he quickly jumps up, making them both almost hit each other. Seeing that his partner is exhausted, Wancheol asks him to drink a mana potion while he holds the kid off. Juntae is a bit annoyed that he has to work with him, but he knows that he is right, so he takes out a mana potion and starts to drink it. He thinks that they might be able to take him out if they pour all of their mana into a single attack. As he recovers, the other S-rank hunter seems to be struggling a bit, handling the MC alone. While grabbing his fist, Jinhyuk looks at him coldly and asks him why he isn't killing him to get the elixir for himself. He even mocks him, asking him to put in a bit more effort. Before the S-rank can do anything, he twists his wrist, breaking it instantly, and hits him with his bat. Juntae watches with his eyes wide open as the mighty Wancheol gets tossed around like a doll. Seeing him on the ground, our boy slowly walks over to him and asks if he is still breathing. He tells him that he can't let him live due to the crimes he has committed. He lured innocent women and kidnapped them to be used as a sacrifice for Alain. Those who refused to follow him were locked away, and the guild members who obeyed him were drowned in drugs. What's happening to him right now is the consequence of his past actions. While taking his last breaths on the ground, Wancheol can't believe that his life is ending in such a pathetic way. Our boy raises his bat above his chest and asks him if he has any last words. The S-rank looks up at him with despair in his eyes and asks him if he is going to kill him for such a trivial reason. He starts begging for his life, saying that he will make him the guildmaster if he spares him. However, Jinhyuk makes sure that he understands there is no negotiation. All he wanted to do was to ask for his last wish. He had already made up his mind when he saw those people trapped that day, just waiting to die. Wancheol still doesn't understand why he wants to kill him just because he kidnapped some people. Whatever the case, the MC knows that he has enough reason to kill him, so he simply stabs him with the bat and finishes him off. The guy screams as the bat pierces his chest, thinking to himself that he can't die like this. However, none of that matters, and he slowly loses consciousness. After he dies, our boy makes sure to remind him to apologize to all the people he killed in the afterlife. Meanwhile, Juntae watches in horror, wondering if he should take this opportunity to strike Jinhyuk while he's distracted. Nevertheless, the fear in his eyes reveals he no longer believes he can win. The only thing he can think about is running, but it's too late for that. Jinhyuk notices him trying to escape and throws his bat directly at him, asking where he is trying to go. The bat flies at him with the speed of a bullet, and the S-rank barely manages to deflect it. He tries playing it cool and says that he is not running. Instead, he is just letting him off the hook this time. The guy believes that he is faster than the MC, so he can easily outrun him. Unfortunately, for him, this is not the case as our boy immediately catches up to him and tells him that he doesn't need to hold back. At the same time, Sangho and Hyena reach the destroyed buildings. She takes him to the location and mentions that he will reach the battle zone once he passes it. Before he leaves, she asks him to consider one last time, but the guy has already made up his mind. He tells her that he can't leave everything to Jinhyuk, so he must help him. Hyena suggests that he recover a bit, but he tells her that he has already made up his mind to end what he started. She finally gives in and asks him not to push himself beyond what's necessary. As Sangho prepares to go, he looks up at the sky and asks Jinhyuk to wait for him. Meanwhile, Youngsok is watching the entire fight from a rooftop. He thinks to himself that the situation has gotten complicated and should have ended as a duel between the two S-rank hunters. However, he never thought someone more powerful than them would join the fight. As the fight continues, he realizes that he must abandon Juntai since he has no way of saving him. He wanted to create the greatest guild and considered Sangho to be a barrier to his goal. Therefore, he poisoned him, and now there is no one who can stop him from building the guild he wants. He looks at Junhyuk and says that he will let him off this time. For now, he needs to escape and focus on twisting the public opinion in his favor. Before Sangho left to help the MC, Hyena told him something important. She revealed that when monitoring the battle zone with the drones, she saw Youngsok standing on the rooftop of the Titan building. Back in the present, the guildmaster appears behind the traitor, making him shake in fear and disbelief. Before the guy can do anything, he screams his name and grabs him by the collar. He wants to know why he would do something like this to his own guild. Youngsok looks at him and asks if he truly doesn't know the reason. He claims that he did it because the guild doesn't need him anymore. This hits the guildmaster a bit hard, and he asks him what he means. The guy explains that he was stopping the guild from growing, and they have no use for such a leader. Sangho sees through his crap talk and calls him out, saying that he is only trying to justify his actions since he did all of that because of his own greed. Youngsok, on the other hand, argues that he saved the guild from being destroyed by him. The guildmaster doesn't agree with this and tells him that the guild is being destroyed because of what he did and the incident that he orchestrated. The traitor has nothing left to say, so he summons his knife and tries stabbing the guildmaster. Despite not being fully recovered, Sangho easily dodges the attack, telling him that he continues to disappoint him to the very end. This gives the guy a chance to escape, and he starts running, thinking to himself that his only crime was creating the greatest guild. He blames Jinhyuk for interfering with his plan and jumps off the building. The guildmaster isn't going to let him get away with his crimes, so he chases after him and summons his own weapon. While still in the air, he swings his axe and hits the guy directly in the head, telling him to take responsibility for the disaster he has caused. With a loud scream, his head is cut wide open, and he falls to the ground. Sangho stands in front of his body and says that he has finally fulfilled his duty. However, he suddenly remembers Jinhyuk and realizes that he spent too much time chasing after the traitor. He immediately rushes towards the site to help the MC. Meanwhile, our boy is destroying the S-rank without any problem. After taking a hit to the chest, Juntae finds it hard to breathe. Jinhyuk points his bat at him, asking if this is the end for him. The guy knows that he is at his limit, and there is no way for him to get out of this. Desperate for survival, he starts begging him to spare his life, offering to give him everything he wants, and even his own position at the guild. Hearing this, the MC reminds him of when they fought the last time. Even after getting stabbed by the spear, he never begged for his life and struggled until the very end. This still doesn't stop the S-rank from pleading, and before finishing his life, Jinhyuk tells him that if he wants to live, he should be prepared to struggle till the end. Before the guy can say anything else, he literally smashes his head clean off the body. With the S-rank now dead, the MC stands there in silence, thinking to himself that he finally managed to stop the S-rank hunters with his own strength. Suddenly, he hears Sangho's voice calling out to him and asking him if he is hurt. He is shocked to see the guildmaster alive and well and asks him when he woke up. The guy tells him not to worry since he woke up a while ago and has recovered. He then asks him what happened here. Jinhyuk says that it's a long story and reveals that he was lucky enough to get a chance to grow stronger. Thanks to that, he was able to take down the S-rank hunters. However, the guildmaster still can't believe he got so much stronger in such a short amount of time. Noticing his confusion, our boy assures him that he will explain it all later, but for now, they need to do something about the damage caused to the city. Sangho tells him not to worry since he and Hyena will take care of everything. The important thing is that he has received a message from Hyena in which she stated that the association wants to meet him. The scene changes to a training room in the Hunters Association headquarters, where Jinhyuk stands in confusion. Even though he accepted their invitation to visit the headquarters, he still doesn't understand why they are making him go through this. A voice informs him that this is a test, and he needs to destroy the drones ahead while dodging their attacks. Before he can figure out what is happening, the drones start attacking, so he instinctively decides to take care of them first. The drones are attacking him from all directions, and it's making it harder to dodge their attacks, but compared to his fight against the S-ranks earlier, this doesn't even count as a warm-up for him. With a confident smile on his face, he immediately starts destroying all the drones using his bat. It doesn't take long for him to clear through them, and the voice mentions that this is a new record. He stares at the screen in front of him and tells them that he is getting annoyed now since he wasn't informed about this test earlier. The girl on the other side mentions that this is part of the official procedure to determine his rank as a hunter. After his recent fight with the 2 hunters, he came out defeating 2 S ranks alone, so the association can't consider him a C rank anymore. Even after hearing all this, he still thinks that the test is pointless. Jin-hyuk starts to lose his temper and asks them to open the door so he can leave. The girl tries to calm him down, but it's no use as he doesn't want to be a part of this test anymore. As he walks to the door, she frantically tries to stop him and mentions that he can't leave the room before the test is finished. To their shock, he breaks through the door by hitting it with his bat and walks out, saying that it was just a waste of his time. It turns out that the association isn't done with him just now, as he gets stopped by some hunters after walking a few steps. He warns them to get out of his way if they don't want to get killed. All the hunters have already witnessed his power, so they know he is not making empty threats. They start looking at their team leader for his next command. From the looks of it, the team leader doesn't want to move, so Jin-hyuk decides that they are going to die. Before he can hit them, he hears a voice from behind telling him to stop. Before he can even turn back, he notices the hunters bowing down to the person in respect and calling him the chairman. He soon realizes that the guy behind him is No Take-soo, the chairman of the Hunters Association. Jin-hyuk greets the chairman and asks him why he summoned a C-rank hunter like him. The chairman notices that he is upset and apologizes, explaining that the reason he called him here is that someone wanted to meet him. The person he is talking about is none other than the strongest hunter in South Korea, Sangho. Even our boy is shocked after seeing the #1 hunter in front of him. As the guy walks towards him with his immaculate drip, he wonders why someone like him would like to meet him. Cheon steps forward to shake his hand with the MC, which feels like a fan moment. He asks him why he wanted to meet him, and the guy mentions that he saw footage of his recent fight with the 2 S-rank hunters. Cheon compliments him for his performance and says that he just wanted to meet him in person. The MC thanks him, but he knows there is something more to this. It doesn't take long for the top-ranked hunter to reveal that he wants to ask him for a favor. Meanwhile, Seo Sangho and Hyena are having a discussion over tea at his apartment. She informs him that, according to their latest findings, the remnants of the Tyrant Guild and the Titan Guild have now merged into the Pantheon Guild with the approval of the association. She apologizes, saying that she tried her best to save the guild. Hearing this, he tells her that it was the right call to disband the guild. It seems like he regrets his past actions a bit, and thinks that he could have avoided this mess if he had listened more to the other guild members. With this, he announces his retirement from the hunting business. Hyena hands him a contract form and says that it will be a waste for him to retire now. After taking a look at the contract, he realizes that it's a registration form for the Pantheon Guild. She tells him that their guild needs someone like him, and that's also what their guild master believes. Hearing this, he asks her if she is already part of the guild. She winks at him and confirms that she now works for the Pantheon Guild. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk and Cheon are standing face to face, prepared for a duel. He finds this entire situation weird since he was initially thrown into a test room, and now the strongest hunter in the country wants to fight him. The chairman and the girl are watching this fight live on their screen. She can't believe that Cheon actually came to the HQ of his own will since he is rarely even seen in public. The chairman reveals that he met the hunter earlier, and after he saw Jin-hyuk's fight with the 2 hunters, he said that he finally found someone he could fight beside, or maybe someone who could rival him. As the MC asks him why they are fighting, the top hunter mentions that he isn't sure himself. In any case, our boy isn't going to back down from a challenge, so he is ready to fight. The girl starts getting a bit worried and asks the chairman if they are really going to let them fight. He laughs and assures her that it's fine since they are just doing a normal spar. Back in the actual fight, Cheon summons his sword, and both hunters ask each other to try their best. Jin-hyuk smiles as he thinks to himself that he doesn't care about his ranking. All he wants is payback for the hell he endured because of him. Meanwhile, Hyena is shocked to receive a call from the association informing her that the top-ranked hunter is about to spar with Jin-hyuk. Seeing her expressions, Sangho knows that something is wrong and asks her what is happening. She puts the phone down and mentions that Cheon Sangho is about to fight the MC. This makes him a bit worried, and he asks her why they are fighting, but she also has no idea. Thinking that Jin-hyuk might be in danger, the two decide to head to the Hunters Association. The scene changes to the fight where both hunter are patiently waiting for the other to lower their guard. The girl asks the chairman what he thinks about this fight. Just then, the 2 hunters charge at each other and their weapons collide. The chairman thinks that the top-ranked hunter will win this. In the actual fight, both hunters seem to be on par in terms of their power. As they both get pushed back, Jin-hyuk realizes that Cheon is on a different level than the other S-rank hunters. He decides it's pointless to try to gauge his strength first. Instead, he decides to go all in from the very start and releases a powerful aura shockwave towards the top-ranked hunter. He stands in front of the attack, wondering if Jin-hyuk is ready to go all in. This gives him enough reason to also get serious, so he slashes clean through the aura and charges at him for a counterattack. He wants to see the MC's true strength and tries pushing him to his limits. The girl watching this starts to get a bit worried as the fight gets more intense. Even Jinhyuk can sense the immense power coming from the top-ranked hunter. He swings his bat to try pushing him back and gets excited thinking about fighting someone this strong. This might give him a chance to test his own limits. However, to his surprise, Cheon tells him that they can't go any further. As he wonders what the guy means, the top-ranked hunter announces that he has lost. This makes Jinhyuk even more confused, and he asks him what he is talking about. Even the chairman is shocked since this is his first time seeing him admit defeat. He asks him why he is ending the spar so suddenly. Cheon raises his sword and reveals that if he continues this fight, it might not hold any longer. Just as he says this, his sword suddenly breaks into pieces. With this, the chairman announces the end of the duel and officially makes Jinhyuk an S-rank hunter. It doesn't take long for this news to break out, and his fight with the two S-rank hunters is shown all over media channels. They also reveal that he defeated the country's top-ranked hunter in a duel and call him in for an interview. While being questioned about the defeat, he admits that it's true and says that Jinhyuk will undoubtedly become the face of the Korean hunter world. Meanwhile, the MC is a bit disappointed that the duel ended this fast since he wanted to fight a bit longer. As he is walking away from the association, Cheon calls him out and congratulates him on officially becoming an S-class hunter. Our boy thanks him and says that he is grateful for the interview he did for him, but he wants to know why he did it. The top-ranked player explains that he just wanted comrades to fight alongside him, and this was a way to make the association aware of his strength. As he begins to leave, Jinhyuk stops him and tells him not to hold back when fighting him the next time. He knows that the sword he used during the duel was a fake. As the two walk away, he thinks to himself that Cheon was definitely going easy on him and even used a cheap sword. This makes him wonder if he was helping him so the association would recognize his strength. In any case, it's thanks to him that he has realized that he is still not strong enough. Later, he heads to the parking lot where Hyena's car screeches to a stop. She jumps out, clearly worried, and rushes to check on him. Sangho gets out too, just as concerned. She says she couldn't believe what she heard about the spar. The previous guildmaster is also mad that the association called it just a sparring match, but they had thrown him against the strongest hunter in the country. He even suggests filing a complaint, but Jinhyuk stays calm and says he isn't upset. In fact, he learned a lot. Fighting Cheon reminded him of the intense pressure he once felt at the Dragon Temple. He suggests they return to the guild and talk things over. That evening, he finally feels relaxed for the first time in a long while. He reflects on how rare it is to feel at peace. The constant fighting has kept him on edge, but now he can finally breathe. Just then, he gets a call from Junshul, the guild manager. The guy asks if he's okay after the fight with Cheon and reminds him not to overdo it. Strength is important, but so is staying alive since he is the guild master. The MC appreciates the concern and promises to take care of himself. He changes the topic and asks how the guild is doing. Junshul gives good news, informing him that they've officially taken over the Titan and Tyrant guilds' assets, which were once their biggest rivals. They've also opened new hunting zones that are buzzing with activity. These new areas are helping the guild grow stronger and protect its territory from other guilds. He invites Jinhyuk to visit soon, and he agrees. After the call, our boy sits quietly, exhausted. He wants to rest, but he knows he has responsibilities. Instead of relaxing, he decides to go to a dungeon and catch up with Cheon. He stops by the dwarf craftsman's workshop to ask for help. The dwarf isn't too happy to see him, complaining that he only shows up when he needs something. Jinhyuk apologizes and says he needs his weapon upgraded. The dwarf complains that he always disappears when he's sent on errands, making him unreliable. The MC explains he had his reasons and promises to make it up to him. When he tells the dwarf about the spar with Cheon, the dwarf gets furious and grabs his weapon. He demands to know if Jinhyuk lost while using the bat he crafted. He's clearly offended. Still, instead of refusing, the dwarf says he is lucky since he's been wanting to try out a new technique anyway. He tries to thank him, but the dwarf cuts him off, saying he's not doing it out of kindness. He just wants to prove himself as a craftsman. As Jinhyuk leaves, he starts thinking about Lucia, as he hasn't seen her in a while. He realizes she might have the answer to something that's been bothering him. Feeling hopeful, he heads deeper into the dungeon to find her. But as he walks, he feels like he's forgetting something important, though he can't figure out what. When he finally finds Lucia, she's furious. She almost punches him, demanding to know why he came without bringing anything. Instead of answering, Jinhyuk says he was looking for her and asks if she's really been in the dungeon all this time. Lucia confirms it and says that she's been working on a magic circle, which is her only hope of returning to her world. She's made some progress, which catches his attention. He asks if she'll be able to go back soon. Lucia sighs and says it's not that simple. She's tested her dimensional magic a few times. Everything seems to go perfectly. She follows all the steps and it feels like the spell works, but nothing actually happens. Even though the magic feels right, the result is always the same. Nothing. She's confident it should work, but doesn't understand why it isn't. While she is saying all this, a strange portal starts to open in Jinhyuk's fridge. The next morning, our boy makes his way to the local supermarket and buys some snacks for Lucia so she won't complain next time. While he is leaving, the cashier stops him and asks if he is Guildmaster Kang Jinhyuk. With a confused expression, he confirms it, which makes the girl excited. She tells him that she is a huge fan and asks him for a photo. Suddenly, he notices other people taking photos of him too. Not trying to make the situation worse, he quickly apologizes and runs out of the store. While making his way back to the cave, he realizes that he is more well known than he thought. The dwarf finally shows him his new weapon and claims that it's on a whole different level than the previous one. As Jinhyuk grabs the bat, he starts to feel it absorbing his mana. This makes him wonder if there is a fault with the bat, but the dwarf guy takes it as an insult and smacks him on the face. He reminds him of the Alround ore that he purified last time and explains that he used it for the enhancement. Normally, ore from monsters carries the traits of that specific monster. In Alround's case, the trait should have been the absorption of life. However, thanks to his purification, it changed to the absorption of mana. Since it's draining his mana, it means that the weapon is working perfectly. Still, Jinhyuk is a bit worried about the bat draining all of his mana, but the dwarf assures him that it will stop after a certain amount. Suddenly, the bat stops absorbing his mana, which means that it is at its maximum capacity. The dwarf tells him that he can use the mana stored inside whenever he wants. To test it out, our boy aims the bat directly at a statue in front of him and swings it in the air, causing it to release a powerful shockwave of mana. The dwarf is a bit impressed that he was able to use it this well on his first try. Jinhyuk thanks him for the enhancement, but the old guy doesn't want his thanks. He only wants some booze. As the two of them talk, the dwarf asks him where he is going today. He mentions that he is going to see Lucia for a bit. Hearing her name, it becomes apparent that the dwarf doesn't like her. This makes our boy curious, and he asks him why he can't seem to get along with her. The old man makes a serious expression and says that it's a long story. The only reason they are tolerating each other is that they have no other choice. However, dwarves and elves have been at war for as long as he can remember. He claims that the elves sold their people to the dragons, which comes as a shocking revelation to Jinhyuk. He finally realizes the depth of the beef between the two races. Later, when he meets Lucia, she screams at him as usual, asking him where he has been. He asks her why she called him to the temple when she is always in the boss's room. Instead of answering him, she simply asks him to look around him and says that the entrance temple has suddenly disappeared. Jinhyuk looks around in confusion and notices that it's actually missing. She believes that it vanished before he cleared the dragon's trial, and during one of her recent investigations, she found a dimensional teleportation magic circle. This one is even more advanced than the one that Mage was using in the boss room. Lucia looks at him and asks if he knows what this all means. Our boy catches on quickly and says that if they study the magic circle, he might be able to go back to his original dimension. However, there is still a problem since she can't activate the circle alone, even if they manage to complete it. In other words, he needs to learn magic from her to help her with the activation. Jinhyuk asks her again to confirm if she is suggesting that he learn magic from her. She tells him that it's correct since the magic circle requires a lot of mana, and she can't activate it using her mana alone. Even with his help, she isn't sure if they will be able to activate it. Our boy starts thinking about ways to provide the magic circle with a massive amount of mana, and suddenly remembers that his bat can work perfectly in this case since it stores mana. He tells her to try using it. She is a bit hesitant at first, but changes her mind when he shows her the mana leaking out of the bat. He explains that the old man upgraded his bat and it can now store mana. Even though he has no idea how much mana is stored in the weapon, it might still be useful to activate the circle. However, when Lucia tries to touch the bat, she experiences a huge shock. Even the MC is a bit confused until he remembers that the dwarf engraved a binding effect on the weapon, so no one else can use it except him. This means that they can't really use the bat, and the only option left for them is to teach him magic. She tells him that from now on, he will be her student. His first lesson begins at his apartment, and she even gives him some homework while eating his snacks. The process wasn't as easy as he expected, and he had to memorize a huge amount of magical knowledge. Moreover, he needs to learn how to control the flow of mana and to use all that knowledge to activate the magic circle. After days of learning, he finally managed to grasp the theory of magic. Just as he starts feeling good, she brings him back to reality by telling him that these were just the basics. His real lessons are about to begin now. She starts going through the study material with him and shows him her research notes on the magic circle that was in the boss's room. According to her, the reason the magic circle failed was because the mage modified the original circle to handle all the mana on his own, since it requires a massive amount just to activate. As a result, the teleportation itself succeeded, but the dungeon appeared in his room instead. Hearing all this, Jinhyuk asks her why they are even talking about that magic circle if it was a failure. She tells him that even if it was a failure, they can compare it to the magic circle in the Dragon Temple and figure out why it failed. This will help them make a better one that actually works. From that day on, the two of them continued researching how to create the perfect magic circle. Jinhyuk got more and more proficient in magic as time went on, and before long he could finally use it to pour mana into the magic circle. He fills the bat with the maximum amount of mana and starts pumping it all into the magic circle. Lucia is also helping him in the process and tells him that she will give him a signal when he has poured enough mana. As the two start pouring mana into the magic circle, it suddenly lights up and starts glowing. This is a sign that the magic circle is reacting to the mana. Jin-hyuk just needs to continue pouring in mana until it finally activates. However, something goes wrong, and his bat unexpectedly starts leaking aura. He tries his best to stop it, but it's not under his control. Even Lucia is confused and asks him why he is injecting aura into the circle. The MC tells her that he is also not sure what is going on, and the two try their best to keep the circle active. Moments later, the ground beneath them starts shaking, and the floor below the magic circle completely collapses. Fortunately, they both manage to back off before the ground collapses, so they don't get caught up in the mess. However, this also means that their only option of going back is now gone. Lucia screams at him, blaming him for making the circle disappear. Meanwhile, the portal inside his fridge starts to glow even more. Later, the two of them sit in his apartment while she eats some snacks. He apologizes to her, saying that he never thought his bat would start injecting aura into the circle. She is still not convinced and screams at him, saying that he doesn't even know the difference between mana and aura. My man literally gets pushed back by her words and explains that he uses the bat for fighting all the time, so he might have accidentally converted the mana into aura. By this time, she has calmed down a bit, so she admits that it's also her fault for not checking before they began the activation. Still, it means that they've lost their chance to get back, which weighs quite heavily on the MC. He assures her that he will find a way to fix this and asks if she needs anything. Hearing this, she screams at him to bring her the tastiest and the sweetest stuff he has. My man rushes to the fridge and asks if she wants some cake. However, as soon as he opens the fridge, he feels an intense wave of cold air coming out. This is not normal for a fridge, so he calls her to check it out. When she finally walks over, they both witness a completely new world beyond the fridge door. She smiles as she realizes that the magic circle didn't fail after all. The snowy landscape they are seeing right now is the result of that magic circle. Moreover, from the mana she is sensing, Lucia believes that this is the dimension she used to live in. Even though she has no idea how the portal opened inside the fridge, she suggests going inside to investigate. Jin-hyuk agrees and tells her that he just needs to deal with some stuff first. He immediately calls Junchul, who is the co-founder of his guild, and asks him if he can come to his place. At the same time, he invited Hyena to join them too. When they finally arrive, he explains to them that he is temporarily going away in order to train. After fighting Cheon, he realized that he was still not good enough. Hearing this, the co-founder asks him if he has figured out a way to get even stronger. He tells him that he is not certain yet, but it can be a possibility. Hyena sends him a report and mentions that the guild is doing well for now, but if he is gone for too long, things might become difficult to handle. Before Jin-hyuk can even answer, our boy Junchul stands up and assures him that there is nothing to worry about. He says that he will handle all that stuff so he doesn't have to worry. Since their guild influence is as strong as his, he can go and come back even stronger. Later, Junchul calls another guild member and informs him that the guild master is going away for a while, so he will be handling more of the guild's responsibilities. The man is a bit worried hearing this, and asks if it's really okay for him to leave at a time like this. The co-founder assures him that it's fine, since when the guildmaster comes back stronger, their influence will grow even more, and they will become the #1 guild in the country. Meanwhile, Lucia is waiting for our boy to change. He comes out with a heavy winter coat and apologizes, saying that he had more to pack than he thought. Afterwards, he hands her a special bow with some arrows, and reveals that the dwarf instructed him to give it to her. She quietly analyzes the weapon for a bit and says that giving her a few arrows is not a big deal. However, her expression suddenly shifts as she realizes that the arrowhead is top quality. Jin-hyuk expresses excitement, saying that he thought it was a normal arrow since he tossed it so casually. He mentions that the old guy really looks out for her. Lucia still isn't ready to admit it, but says that she might have to pay him back for this eventually. The two of them finally decide to step in, and immediately, he can tell that this is a different dimension. They wonder where they should start investigating and come across a mysterious dungeon. Our boy seems excited for this and says that something is definitely hiding inside. She agrees, and the two decide to head into the dungeon. The dungeon is deeper and bigger than they actually assumed, and as soon as they step inside, she immediately senses some monsters running towards them. Lucia cautiously stops him and tells him to get ready since it's about to go down. It doesn't take long for the monsters to appear, and they turn out to be yetis. The monsters fiercely jump towards them, and she asks our boy if he can handle them. With a confident smile, he assures her that he has it under control. He summons his bat and claims that he can take them out with his eyes closed. She finds it amusing and tells him that he talks too big. The two of them start clearing off the monsters without much problem, with the MC attacking them head-on and Lucia supporting him from the back. As the battle continues, she starts to realize just how good the arrows are. Jin-hyuk is also feeling himself, so he decides to end it in one final blow. At the same time, the dragon god gets a message that the apostle has crossed dimensions. He listens to the dragon while sitting on his chair and announces that he will meet the apostle soon. The dragon still doesn't understand why he gave the rank of apostle to a human like him instead of a noble dragon kin. Hearing this, the dragon god reveals that he did it because of the man's destiny. He was born to bring ruin to the world. A fierce battle erupts between Jinhyuk and the monstrous creatures. Our boy launches himself into the air and prepares to end the fight swiftly. Without hesitation, he strikes down with his bat like a bolt of lightning. The weapon crashes into the creature's skull, killing it instantly. Breathing heavily, he opens his inventory and reads the name of the monster, Yeti. This name surprises him, as he doesn't recall seeing such a creature before. Lucia soon approaches and reacts sharply when she hears the word Yeti. She explains that Yetis are known to live in packs in the mountains. If the creature he just killed was indeed a Yeti, then they needed to leave the cave immediately. Jinhyuk, confused by her urgency, questions the sudden need to escape. She warns him that killing a single Yeti usually triggers the entire pack to attack in retaliation, and when they do, their strength is overwhelming and merciless. Before they can discuss further, a blizzard suddenly roars through the tunnel, and monstrous howls echo from the shadows. Realizing the danger, he asks her why she didn't mention this earlier, but she admits she only just remembered. With no time for arguments, she urges him to run. As they flee, the icy floor begins to crack beneath their feet. Despite the danger, he glances back at the advancing creatures and questions whether running is even necessary. From his perspective, the Yetis don't seem particularly strong. Lucia, however, explains that the risk isn't just from the monsters themselves. The structure of the cave is fragile, and any battle here could cause the ice to collapse, killing everyone inside. Suddenly, he comes to a stop. Lucia, alarmed, demands to know why he's halting in such a dangerous place. He replies calmly that he has a tool that might help. He pulls out a flash grenade and plans to use it to freeze the monsters in place. Just as he prepares to throw it, something unexpected happens. Instead of chasing them further, the Yetis start to retreat back into the cave. Both Jinhyuk and Lucia are taken aback. The creatures, which moments earlier had been charging at them, now appear frightened. She looks toward the depths of the cave and suggests that the Yetis might be sensing something even more dangerous ahead. She believes their instincts are warning them not to go any further. The MC is shocked by the idea that something so terrifying could exist deeper in the cave, something that could scare off an entire pack of Yetis. She confirms she senses a strange and powerful magical energy, unlike anything she's felt before. It's dark, twisted, and deeply unsettling. She proposes that the only way to find out more is to continue forward. They push ahead until the tunnel opens into a vast hidden area. In the middle of the mist stands a large, snow-covered structure. Lucia points out that this is the source of the dark magical energy they've been sensing. Jinhyuk decides they should investigate it closely, though Lucia remains tense. She warns that the aura surrounding the place is disturbingly unnatural. Even she, who had never known fear in battle, feels a deep unease in her chest, as if something inside the structure is watching them. Elsewhere, in a different space shrouded in darkness, the dragon god sits alone. He whispers that he has finally found what he was searching for. The last messenger has arrived, and now it's time to wait for what's to come. Meanwhile, the two of them start moving towards the temple. It's really cold, and the place feels tense, like something dangerous is up ahead. As they move further in, they see a man standing silently in the distance. Jinhyuk feels that something is off about him, and Lucia warns that the man has dark energy coming from him. He wonders if the man is still human, and suggests they try talking to him. But she quickly says no and mentions that she has never felt this kind of mana before. Right then, the man starts to speak. His voice is rough, and he says he didn't expect anyone to come here. He asks if they were sent by him. Jinhyuk replies that they just came to investigate because they sensed ominous mana and asks the man who he is. The man suddenly gets angry and yells that intruders can't be allowed to leave after seeing this place. The atmosphere becomes heavy. Lucia tells him to step back quickly. She suddenly remembers who this man is and explains that he's actually a dragon. The area around them shifts, and the man transforms into a huge red dragon right in front of them. The dragon says they've entered a sacred place and must pay the price. She gets ready to fight and says she's dealt with dragons before. The MC is shocked and tries to process what just happened, but prepares to fight anyway. Then, everything suddenly freezes. The wind stops, the fire goes out, and even the dragon and Lucia can't move. Jinhyuk is confused. He notices that Lucia also isn't moving. A deep voice speaks out, saying time has been stopped. Someone appears in the air wearing a black cloak. He doesn't walk on the ground but seems to float or tear through space. Jinhyuk asks who he is. The man replies that his name is Ordo, and he's the one who created the dragon Tiamut. He also claims to be the god of the world. The MC is surprised but doesn't know whether to believe it. Ordo says it doesn't matter if he believes him or not, since it's still the truth. He explains that he's been watching humans for a long time. At first he liked how people lived, but then they started fighting each other, causing destruction. He didn't want humans to destroy themselves, so he became a god to protect them. He created monsters to give humans a common enemy and gave people the power to fight back by turning them into hunters. At first, things worked out and people worked together, but then humans started using their powers against each other again. Ordo says that Jinhyuk has also used his power in the same way. He adds that he was never meant to be this strong, and to become his apostle, he had to endure many more trials. But his plan failed because an anomaly from another dimension ruined everything. A powerful magician had moved the dungeon into his room, which allowed him to grow stronger earlier than expected. Ordo had tried to destroy the dungeon when Jinhyuk first entered, but the dragon god inside blocked him, so he gave up. Because of the dungeon's effects, he couldn't find him until recently, when the dragon god's presence vanished. Now he can finally meet him face to face. He then tells Jinhyuk that he had already marked him as his apostle long ago. His plan was for him to become a powerful protector of humanity, someone who could bring peace and stand at the top of the world. He offers him that position, saying it's his rightful place. But he also adds a threat. If he refuses, he'll have to die just for seeing this place. The MC thinks about it, then calmly says no. He admits that he used to want that kind of power and destiny, but he refuses to follow Ordo. He accuses him of knowing how much pain he went through and doing nothing to help. Now asking him to serve as his apostle feels like manipulation. Our boy tells him that he'd rather die fighting than be someone's puppet. The guy laughs at his response and says he is foolish for not understanding his deeper plans. Then he changes approach. He floats into the air and says that if Jinhyuk won't join him willingly, he'll use another method. He introduces a creature called Tiamut, which he created after capturing an ancient dragon from another world. It's his most powerful creation, and he claims that nothing can stop it, not even hunters or monsters. He plans to use this creature to destroy everything and build a new world filled only with people who love peace. Jinhyuk will be the first sacrifice to this new creature. Even facing this terrifying threat, our boy doesn't back down. He grits his teeth and tells Ordo to bring it on. Then he charges straight at the dragon-like creature, even though it seems like suicide. The guy is impressed by Jinhyuk's bravery but says it's pointless since he'll be left behind. Meanwhile, somewhere underground, a dwarf is finishing a shiny new set of armor. He talks to himself, saying that it took longer than expected to make this armor because the old one was too worn out. He remembers Jinhyuk and jokes that the guy better bring him some good booze as thanks. He recalls how he used to be weak when they first met, but gradually became one of the strongest people on the continent, probably helped by that loud elf too. He wonders what they'll bring back this time and laughs, thinking that it might even be a dragon. Back at the battle, Ordo snaps his fingers, and the giant creature suddenly comes to life. Its eyes glow, and it starts to move with huge muscles flexing. Lucia regains consciousness and realizes what's happening. She shouts at Jinhyuk to be careful. The dragon shoots a massive blast of fire toward him. The MC tries to dodge, but it's too fast, and he ends up getting swallowed by the dragon. Lucia is shocked and screams in despair. Ordo smiles coldly and mocks him for making a dramatic speech only to be taken out so quickly. But then, a voice growls from inside the dragon's mouth. He is still alive. He starts forcing the dragon's jaws open from the inside, using pure strength. The dragon roars in pain. Lucia is overwhelmed with relief and asks if he's okay. Jinhyuk says, of course, and tells her that he can't let someone like Ordo destroy the world. No matter what it takes, he'll stop him. The guy just laughs as he finds it amusing and says that he wants to see how long he can hold on. However, he mentions that the only thing he will feel at the end is overwhelming despair. Meanwhile, Hyena gets a call from the co-founder of the guild, and he informs her that the association has issued a mandatory summons. She asks in confusion why it's happening, but he mentions that he doesn't know the exact reason. Dungeons are appearing all across the city, including their own jurisdiction. For this reason, they are asking for their cooperation. Hearing this, she tells him that she will notify the other guild members immediately. After she puts down the phone, Sangho asks her what is going on. She reveals that a huge number of gates have appeared in Region 9, which interestingly lies close to Jinhyuk's house. While all this is happening, our boy is trapped in the mouth of Tiamut the dragon. Lucia is worried since he might burn to death if he doesn't come out quickly. The MC struggles to get out, but the dragon is too strong, so he can't push its mouth open. Suddenly, the elf shoots an arrow that hits it directly in the head. The dragon screams in pain and opens its mouth, which gives our boy enough time to escape. Despite taking a direct hit from the arrow, it seems like the dragon is still fine. As Jinhyuk falls to the ground, it furiously flies towards him to finish him off. He immediately gets up, thinking that it's not even giving him any time to breathe. The dragon slams to the ground and uses all of its strength to crush our boy. At the same time, Lucia tries shooting another arrow at it, but the dragon notices her before she can shoot. It uses its tail to smack her, and the impact sends her flying away. The MC finally realizes just how strong this dragon is since he made her fall with just a single hit. With her down, the dragon shifts its focus back towards our boy. With the pressure increasing, Jinhyuk knows that he has no other choice but to go all out. Ordo seems a bit disappointed in the MC and believes that it's all over. He orders the dragon to finish him, but something seems off. Despite the dragon using all of its strength, it can't crush our boy. This makes the dragon shocked as it can't believe that a mere human is able to withstand its power. Jinhyuk starts pushing back with everything he has and uses the power he gained from the dragon's temple. He unleashes all that power while screaming on top of his lungs, causing the dragon to pull back. I can't believe that someone like him can handle so much power. Even Ordo is shocked and refuses to believe that he is seeing the power of the dragon god. Meanwhile, the dragon god sits on his throne, announcing that it's time to go since his apostle has finally realized his true power. He gets up from his throne, saying that he will settle this long-standing grudge today. Back in the other dimension, Ordo can already feel the energy shifting, and he knows that this is a sign of the dragon god's arrival. Even Jinhyuk feels strange since he didn't expect the power of the dragon god to be this strong. Moreover, he can see the mark of the dragon on his wrist. Ordo also notices the symbol from above and wonders if the dragon god has really made him his apostle. He knows that he has to finish this before the dragon god arrives, so he orders the dragon to kill him immediately. Tiamut obeys his command and sends a massive wave of fire towards our boy. Surprisingly, the fire, which felt dangerous a minute ago, doesn't scare him at all. He is at a level where he thinks he can easily beat the dragon. Suddenly, he hears a voice telling him to stop. For a moment, it seems like time itself has stopped. Jinhyuk thinks that Ordo is behind this, so he screams at him, asking if he has something else to say to him. The guy is also confused and tells him that he never stopped time. At the same time, he hears the dragon god asking him why it's so hard to find him. His eyes open wide as he finally realizes that the dragon god is here. Ordo didn't expect him to show up this quickly. The MC also looks up to notice the elder flying above and asks him what he is doing here. The dragon god turns to Ordo and asks him how dare he kidnap a dragon that was like his own child. Apparently, he had kidnapped his dragon and turned it into this monster called Tiamut. The dragon god asks him why he did it despite knowing that it was wrong. The guy starts making excuses and says that it was something he had to do for his world. He, as a god, should understand this. The dragon god can see right through this crap and tells him that creating a monster from his stolen child in order to destroy his world wasn't something necessary. He just did it for his own satisfaction. Even right now, he is trying to kill his apostle just because he doesn't like him. This makes Ordo furious, and he lashes out, saying that he only did this to bring peace to his world, and it's all a small sacrifice to pay for that peace. Bro thinks he is Thanos. Hearing all this, the dragonkind turns to Jinhyuk and asks him if any of it makes sense to him. Our boy launches himself towards Ordo, saying that it's all nonsense. The guy asks him if he even knows the situation he is in, since he is interrupting a conversation between gods. He tries stopping time by snapping his fingers, but nothing happens. With a shocked expression, he wonders why his powers aren't working on the MC. The dragon god explains to him that he is facing his proxy, who can wield the power of the dragon. In other words, he is someone with power equal to a god. It is now time for him to be defeated by the very human he looked down upon. Without wasting a second, our boy starts swinging at him with his bat. Ordo manages to block his attack, but his insane power quickly overwhelms him. Jinhyuk screams at him, saying that they don't need a god who wants to destroy their world, and throws him to the ground. The guy falls down with a massive explosion and smoke covering the entire area. Our boy opens his eyes to find himself in a different plane in space. He sees Ordo standing in front of him, telling him not to be worried. Seeking some answers, our boy asks him what he is trying to do. The guy explains that he just altered the dimensions since he wanted to talk. He admits that he lost the fight and mentions that getting hit by him changed his entire perception. It made him realize that being a god doesn't mean that he knows everything perfectly. Therefore, he's decided to stop what he was planning before and instead make himself in charge of the entire world. As his body starts disappearing, he tells the MC that he will be overseeing everything from on and mentions that he has to prove himself wrong. Jinhyuk isn't so sure that he can handle all that responsibility, but Ordo has made his decision. He makes him the new manager of the world, and our boy goes back to the other dimension. The dragon god asks him if he had a good talk and explains that Ordo gave everything up and decided to trust humans again. He even gave him back the dragon, saying that he would watch over the new world. Before leaving, the dragon god tells him that it's his duty to bring peace to his world. He assures him that he will be cheering him on and says that he should become a manager that even the two gods would acknowledge. Jinhyuk stands there thinking if he has actually become the manager of this world. Just then, he hears Lucia's voice calling him out. He rushes back to her and asks if she is okay. She reveals that she almost died, but the dragon god healed her body, allowing her to recover. Since it's all over now, our boy invites her to go back home. However, she mentions that this is her original world, so she can't leave. This makes him a bit sad, and he asks her if it means that they won't see each other anymore. The two say their goodbyes and part ways. Looking down at his world from above, our boy remembers how a dungeon appeared in his room out of nowhere. He never thought a bottom-tier hunter like him could become the manager of the world. He still doesn't know what Ordo saw in him to give him this power, but he knows for sure that he needs to guide humanity down the right path so they don't go astray. He'll do all that while communicating with others to build a better world as a fellow human and the manager of a new world.